Happy Wednesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes, but if you would like to get on the list for today for a personal reading, the list is open. You will be the third person read for. It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps. Those are pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen. We will be getting to 50K in no time. The other reading giveaway we're doing right now is a reading giveaway collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you are participating in that as well. But before we get started on today's daily collective read, I'll be giving a brief recap on what we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days. But before we get started, first and foremost, scale of 1 to 10, how are we doing today? There are no wrong answers. We're coming through a very emotional time. We're in eclipse season. Moon's in Pisces. We've got a new moon we just experienced a new moon in Pisces. It can be very emotional. I just wrote a whole article about this over on the Stack. The one thing, the energy that we're effectively experiencing right now can be very affirming, or it can feel very overwhelming. And a lot of the way that it's going to potentially carry for you is working into the space of how one is navigating one's own emotions. We often see this. I always stress this. You know, we often articulate that unprecedented things happen when we're going through eclipse cycles. But I need to stress this. The space by which something feels unprecedented when we go through an eclipse cycle, it's usually not because something new is being energetically formed, but rather the fact that the eclipses are amplifiers, right? They crank the volume knob up to 11. It can be very intense. And the hard part about that is it can sometimes take something, right? Something that it would not necessarily bother you that much, something that would not be a big deal on the daily. You suddenly have something small, and suddenly in the eclipse energy, it feels like it's all you can concentrate on, right? It can often create that deep obsessive energy, or that real deep dive kind of work. Now, this is positive, right? This type of energy can be very helpful as it relates to getting to the bottom of things, being able to understand the emotions or the way that we carry things, right? Beautiful time for introspection, beautiful time for emotional resets, beautiful time to be able to explore the unknown emotions of the self as one is moving into a maturation process. Because we've also got Saturn that's moved back into Aries, and every time Saturn moves into Aries, I feel like everybody gets a pseudo Saturn return moment, even if you're not having a Saturn return. The hard part about this energy is if you're in the space by which you're avoiding that work, right? You're avoiding the emotions. You're in that space by which you're not necessarily inclined to face them, right? This type of energy can simultaneously feel profoundly destabilizing, right? Because it's something that you're effectively avoiding that feels like it effectively demands one's attention. And that's why I'd say making sure that you're navigating energy like this with a sense of proportionality and a sense of intentionality is really important. And you know what I say whenever we go through eclipse cycles, it's not the fact, right? It's not the fact that you can't be spontaneous during an eclipse cycle. It's not the fact that you can't be quick or you can't be reactive. But remember, there is a difference between being right? Between being fast, being very like being able to effectively move very quickly upon something versus being reactive, okay? Spontaneity, not reactivity, is going to be what's going to help us get through this. So again, and again, as it relates to new ideas, if you've had something that you've been meaning to do for a while, right? It's not the fact that you can't start it during the eclipse. What you want to be conscientious of is something that you just got, like the wild idea that just arises in the mind at the time of the eclipse cycle starting. And it's not to say that this isn't good idea energy, but remember, the way that one is able to determine a good egg or a bad egg is if you can sit on it for a minute. If it's a good idea now, it'll probably be a good idea in 5 minutes. It'll probably be a good idea in 5 hours. And making sure that you're communicating the emotions, not from a point of irritability, because I will say that there is a qualitative nature of amplified irritability that we can often experience with these eclipse cycles, but making sure that you're having productive conversations, remembering that the way that we activate upon our emotions is when those emotions have directions attached to them. That's the space by which our emotions become gifts. Now, this is having a different impact depending on where you find yourself on the frequency cycles. And we're going to start first by talking about the energy that's currently in solitude. Now, we are currently experiencing or working through the relationship cycles that are going through world lessons. And why do we see that these are world lessons? Because they effectively are working through the lessons that we identify in the world card of the tarot. And these were the relationship cycles that have been coming together from about the time of January 18th. So the time that we had that Capricorn new moon energy in Capricorn season up until today. A lot of this work that we see that's happening is building upon and finding that space by which we are able to identify our bliss. There's a lot of the energy in solitude that is working to heal from the falsehood of separation, understanding that when we're looking for healthy partnership, one of the best things we're pervasively always doing so, and the ability to move towards our bliss is not antithetical to moving into partnership, but in fact, it's absolutely necessary because it's a continuation of understanding the lesson that there's no manifestation goal on the planet by which we find our bliss. We have to find our bliss along the way. And while we see, much like an eclipse, a manifestation will amplify what we're already feeling. So if we have bliss and we move towards a manifestation, there'll be more bliss there. But it's the understanding of the fact that the manifestation itself does not change the way that we feel. So a lot of that energy is working upon the positive feeling of the self, coming into a state of positivity and bliss that would allow them to effectively move towards healthy relationship, because that is the relationship that isn't looked at in order to fix something, but rather to be able to amplify what is already there. Simultaneously, we see that there may be a lot of relationships that are coming together right now, and they themselves are working with a little bit more of this conscientiousness as it relates to moving into partnership. Specifically and particularly because if these are the relationships or the energies that have found that point of bliss, we get very precious with our bliss. It's taken them a lot of time to be able to find it. So the space by which they're trying to come towards each other in union, there is a bit of trepidatiousness, but it's a trepidatiousness with good reason, because they're being vulnerable, right? There's that Taurus energy coming out, that's a Uranus energy coming out in of retrograde in Taurus season, that reminds us that the only way that we're able to find a deeper sense of comfort is by stepping out of our comfort zone. Now, this brings us to the energy that's moving deeper into divine union right now. And what are we effectively seeing? Those are the relationships that were coming together between the time of that Capricorn new moon energy that we experienced on January 18th up until the time that Uranus first went into retrograde, which is around September 6th. Now, these relationships were what we were identifying as the moon partnerships, because they were working through the lessons that we identify in the moon card at the time that they were coming into partnership. a lot of the observation, and I keep on seeing that this is potentially a, a moment or a time where a lot of emotions are coming up, specifically and particularly because these are relationships that are building into strong firmament, right? The observation of moving into relationship with an individual whose purpose is in alignment to this, to the self. Now, what often happens when we build into relationship with another person that has a similar feeling of purpose? And here's what's interesting about it. It doesn't require that that purpose has to be the same. It's not like these relationships are sharing mutual purpose, but the space by which they both have purpose amplifies the fact that they don't take each other's purpose personally. And because they don't take it personally, they're able to find a relationship that is allowing them to move towards the purpose with profound expedience in a way that they might have never dreamed possible before. And at the same time that that is occurring, there may be a lot of feelings that are coming up, because what they're effectively identifying is if these are experiences wherein they carry wounds related to another person from the past, taking their sense of purpose personally, they're recognizing that they're healing from wounds stemming from a lack of integrity. What is a lack of integrity? A lack of integrity is when our yeses don't stay yeses and our no's don't stay no's. So potentially having to heal at the same time that they're finding healthy partnership, they're healing from circumstances by which another person articulated the fact that they were in alignment to another sense of purpose, right? Until they reached the inevitable point where they started to move towards that purpose with alacrity. And at that time, the switch by which another person tried to articulate that the purpose was staying in the was becoming a block in the partnership. And so this is why we see that for a lot of those relationships, working through the observation of a counterpart that not only truly feels that sense of purpose, but also potentially has one of their own, is allowing a lot of that energy to move through a lot of profound insight. But potentially it could be feeling very bittersweet, because as they're finding that, they're discovering what was energetically missing in past relationship. Now, this brings us to the energy that's deep within divine union. And these are effectively the temperance relationships. These were the relationships that were coming together between the time that Uranus state went retrograde up and around September 6th, up until the solstice period that we experienced this summer. These relationships were working through the lessons of the temperance card at the time that we were coming into partnership. The mutual effort. Everything is possible so long as the work is mutual. But what are we effectively seeing that is occurring? And I want to describe this here. Out of all of the energy that we're reading right now, this is the one that feels like it has the most energetic pressure on it, because what we effectively see that is potentially happening right now is going through an introspective expansion, potentially seeing and recognizing tendencies, things that the individuated self needed to create within the self at the time that they themselves were experiencing trauma, that now feel like they are acting as a block in partnership. And this is often what we realize. This is why healing from trauma is so painful, because the thing that was effectively that you had to create within the self to keep the self safe at the time that it was not safe to be the authentic self often takes a lifetime to dismantle, to disassemble. But a lot of that space by which we recognize that, we see that this is the energy that is potentially observing the quality of that type of trauma, identifying and recognizing and holding compassion for a part of themselves that they're working to heal, by also recognizing the volatility of feeling that may come up, the vulnerability that they may feel as they're trying to heal it, because it's the identification point of that unhealthy tendency was effectively the only thing that was energetically protecting them at a time by which it was not safe to be in their deep authenticity and vulnerability. Now, that is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. But if you'd like to find that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my Spot and over on my Stack. I would also encourage you to head over to my Stack, because we have tarot class tomorrow. I mean, tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. I'd like to invite you to join us this evening at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the court cards in the sword suite. We're going to be studying the history of those cards. We're going to be studying the symbology of the cards. I'm going to be walking you guys through spread applications, how you can read those cards in any direction that they may appear in your own readings. I'm also going to be presenting you a unique spread to help you channel the messages of that card suite in your own readings. And all you need to do, if you'd like to become a part of that tarot class program, is head on over to my Stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system. It's not necessary to catch up for tonight. I'm going to give you guys a recap on everything we've been studying prior to beginning the work in this class, so don't worry about that if this is your first class that you're attending. And if you have any questions, you can ask them in a one-on-one chat that is effectively only for the students. And if you become a founding member to my Stack, not only will you receive a discount on the whole year's worth of classes, you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive, as well as having the opportunity of receiving a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of advantage moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my mystic meditation articles there, which give you updates on everything we've been seeing in the cards. I just wrote one a couple of days ago on navigating this new moon energy that we're experiencing in Pisces during Aquarius season. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm also very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages, which is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, at a discounted rate, as well as dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. Now, if you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. But why don't you drop a note in the comments and let me know how this energy is impacting you personally. That said, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. If you would like to get on the list for today, the list is open. You will be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio Please keep in mind, there are two things I do not read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing two giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. The other reading giveaway we're doing today is a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. And if you are on the hold list and would like to be added back to the list, all you need to do is let me know the date that you are added to the hold list, and I'll be happy to add you back as well. Oh, Zena, thank you so much for that compliment. Hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. Just a reminder to those joining us over on the place where we keep the videos or on the place where we keep the photos, you can also get on the list today via my tree that has binks in it in my bio. Nicole, thank you so much for those gifts. I appreciate you. Tara, good to see you today. Queen K, welcome. Thank you for those likes. Guys, please welcome Armand K. Meg in for the day. Good to see you, dear, and please thank them for their help today. Thank you for the follow, Queen K. I appreciate you. And Olga, thank you for joining us as well. Hello there, Room to Breathe. Thank you for the follow. How are you doing today, Ariana? And welcome, Queen. Grand Rising Avatar, good to see you guys. Thank you for recharging your heart me's. Please remember, if you are a super fan who would like a one-card reading today, recharging your heart me will also make you eligible for receiving an animal spirit guide card on top of that one card as well. Alexandria Shipley, thank you for those heart me's as well. Ivana, thank you for those gifts. Looking forward to our reading today. Hi there, KJ. I wish stepping out didn't feel like it had to include being drawn out by people. Here's the thing about it, and I want to describe this. Like, a lot of this energy we're experiencing right now, KJ, is kind of like projection central. It comes with the territory. And the thing is, when you recognize the force or the shape of others' projections, it's not that it doesn't hurt, but it helps us to understand that that's their work, not our work, right? Unless something that someone is projecting upon us contains a grain of truth, right? That's their responsibility. It's not ours. So make sure that you're holding a lot of compassion if you're experiencing situations of that nature. How are you doing today, Luna? Hope you're having a beautiful day. Grand Rising as Nicole. Good to see you as well. Did you message me, Nicole? I know you mentioned yesterday that you were looking for access to the disco, but I didn't see that PM come through. Just a reminder to any of those who are interested in having the class tonight, if you're not already registered, if you are a super fan and you head over to our super fan only disco channel, in the perks section, there is a coupon code that will give you an additional discount to that tarot class subscription program. It basically nullifies the amount that you pay here. So if you want to make sure to sign up for that class, it's not going to be additional. It's just going to be inclusive in relationality to the additional work. We discount the amount of the subscription from that when you sign up for the stack. Thank you for the follow, Luna, and thank you for the compliment, Joe. Luna, I make predictions through dreams very accurately. Unfortunately, is traumatic. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, I know individuals who have that gift, and I have to be honest. Sometimes having the dream insight can be a little bit traumatic because it feels like you can't control it. But one of the things I do with my mentorships is I do a lot of work in helping others identify and recognize ways to feel supported as they carry heavy gifts. And we do a lot of work here in relationality to dream interpretation too. So if you ever want assistance in having one of those dreams clarified, we can also do that here. Just a reminder to anyone who would like a dream interpreted, if you would like to include that information, you can either post it in the notes when you send the donation, or you can post it in our subscriber only disco channel in the appropriate channel. Good to see you today. How are you doing? Welcome, Per. I can see you pinning. It's pinning on my end, Kay. So I don't know if it cleared itself up or not. Hi there, dear. And your world. Thank you for those gifts. I appreciate you. Hold on, I'm just reading over. Yep. I was meaning to ask you. Oh, that's a good question. I think it is. Right? I don't think it's more fast. I think it's less slow. If that makes sense, Kay. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my opinion on it. I feel like it's not that it's more fast, it's just less slow. Bridget knows what I'm talking about. Yes. Okay, Nicole, you have to PM me. PM me. Send me a PM. Okay. With a disco gift. You sent it this morning? I was looking this morning. I didn't see it. I just pinned it again here. And again, if you're not a subscriber but would still like a discount to class tonight, there is a special code I can give you in this live. Message me the word class through the link that I pinned at the bottom of the screen. Oh, sending you so much support, Bridget. I'm navigating that with someone's boyfriend at the moment. I know it's their work to do, but it's still not easy. It still hurts. And that's the thing about, and here's the thing about it. Like, that's the type of work we can expect when we're going through a new moon in Pisces like we are here, right? Like, even though you understand, it still hurts, right? No, Avatar, what's that? You posted in the disco. Yep. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it was amazing. That is incredible, dear. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you, Nicole. I'll double check for it again. I'll double check for it again once we complete the live. As I mentioned, friends, we are going to get started on today's Daily Collective. If you want to get on the list for today, it's a lovely time to get on the list. You'll be the first person read for once we conclude the Daily Collective. As you may be aware, we do privilege here. So if anyone who got on the list before I came live will actually be read for now before we get started on today's Daily Collective. But if you want to get on the list to be read for after the collective, you'll be the first person read for. So it's a great time to get on. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers, Binks and Lio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I don't read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. You have work? Oh, you have work tonight for class? Well, I will point out, even if you want to subscribe for the class tonight and you can't actually be there live, the class will be available first thing in the morning. The class recordings, and this is why we do it the way we do it, the class recordings are up for everyone, even if you can't make the class live in person. So that class will be up by tomorrow morning once we teach it. And for if you're a monthly member, you'll have access to over 9 hours of the recent classes. And if you become a founding member, you'll have access to over 20. I hope that helps, Siobhan. Oh, it's a gift? I don't think I've seen it yet. Hint, hint. All right, we're going to get started. We are going to get started on today's Daily Collective Read. I know, I'm curious about it too. We are going to get started on today's Daily Collective Read, but as I mentioned, if you'd like to get on the list for today, it's a lovely time to get on the list. You will be, oh, nice. I haven't seen it yet. You will be the 3rd person read for and the 1st person after the Daily Collective. But I will also stress, my friends, I am not going to be on as long as I typically am today. So if you want to read, please get on the list sooner rather than later, okay? We're going to have a shift in schedule over the next few days as well. So if you want a full reading, today is the day to get one because my availability will be limited over the next 4 days, potentially with prioritization to anybody who is a super fan. Especially if you're not a super fan right now and you'd like that reading, make sure that you hop on the list today. That said, before we get started on today's Daily Collective, why don't we warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check? I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got the fire dragon. Interesting. And thank you guys for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. Okay, that's so weird. That is bizarre. All right, thank you for the note, dear. I'll keep that in mind. All right. And as I mentioned, friends, if you'd like to get on the list for today, the list is open. Wonderful time to get on the list. You will be the 3rd person read for. That said, no better time than the present. Why don't we get started? Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. We are going to be starting our day off today with a masculine, feminine, non-binary energy update. And we're going to start today with the masculine headspace. We're going to be utilizing the Tarot of the Divine for the headspace of masculine. Can I please get 3 cards, please? 3 cards we are starting our day off with today are the 8 of Swords in its upright, the Star card in its reversal, in combination with the Death card in its reversal. Let's talk a little bit about this energy here, because that is some heavy stuff. That is some Saturn in Aries energy right there. Let's talk about it. So what are we effectively seeing here? So one of the things that we want to talk about, the word unrequited is coming up. But the thing I want to describe, and this is a continuation of what we effectively see in relationality to working through, right? Working through the span of the emotions, right? And this is the thing about it. And we often experience this. We're moving into Pisces season now. And the thing you want to identify is the emotions that we don't face have control over us, right? And why do we say this is a continuation of the lessons that we saw working through Aquarius season, right? And it has to do with the deniability of emotions. And that's the sad truth of it. There are no emotions that we can deny, right? Because what happens, right? What happens when we deny emotions? Everyone else has to deal with them, right? When we deny emotions, everybody, like we think we're in the space of denying emotions, and there's everybody around us having to deal with the emotions that we're trying to avoid, right? And this is what we talk about in relationality to avoidant behavior. And sometimes, like, I like to point out, like, the avoidant behavior that we have often articulates like a massive blind spot, right? It's like the space by which, like, when you go like this, right, and you don't want to look at something, like everybody else sees this, right? We're like, look at me, I'm doing a really good job not facing something, and meanwhile everybody else is clear to everybody else that there's that avoidance point, right? There's that like pop, pop, pop. So we often see this. And this is what we talk about in relationality to emotional intelligence. And the thing about it, emotional intelligence is vulnerable stuff, right? Like, if you want to be emotionally intelligent, prepare to feel really vulnerable, because it's the observation that the only way that we get stronger in something is if we're ready to navigate the vulnerability that we must feel in order to get better at it, right? And this is why we talk about the false precept that humility, the difference that we understand that humility is understanding the pathwork by which one is constantly seeking to learn, right? It's the work by which we are constantly seeking to understand. And so this is what we effectively see that's happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy on the healing journey. And this is also why I feel like a lot of that energy gets very frustrated at the unhealed portion of their own energetic spectrum, because the modality by which this energy frequently feels the fact that they have to carry the weight of the unhealed portion on their back is often the calibration point in understanding how others, right, understanding others' trepidation as it relates to healing with them, right? This is a lot of the empathy. I keep on hearing the empathy, the empathetic isolation that is characterized in relationality to trying to do something better, right? Because when you're trying to do something better, You know, you're not falling back. You're not falling back on what feels easy. You're not falling back on what feels energetically convenient. And so, and I think it's interesting too, because, you know, like I keep on getting for a lot of this masculine energy, working through the fact, and I keep on hearing your spiritual journey in healing masculine will feel like a riot, right? Because it's the space by which you understand and identify the modality by which you work so hard to set that standard, and then you feel the violation when others don't hold it the way that you yourself do, right? So there's a lot of empathy that we see that is happening for a lot of that energy, and a lot of it has to stem from the way that they hold and navigate the feeling of vulnerability. This is a continuation of yesterday's work, right? Because our ability to understand that vulnerability is a gift is how we work to heal relationship. Because what happens, right? When you talk about, and this is what you'll often see with masculine energy that hasn't healed this properly. How's that love-hate relationship with vulnerability going, right? How's that love-hate relationship with vulnerability going, right? You can't articulate the fact that there's something that you find terrible, anathema, within the self, and then identify that that is the highest thing you seek outside in counterpart, because that's a space. But be ready to project, right? Be ready to project. You can't give different directives to the unconscious. You can't say to the unconscious, there's something that I revile in myself and something that I seek outside in relationship. Because the modality by which you do that, don't be surprised if when you find that ideal, you start to treat it terribly, right? Because you're working out all of those bitter feelings that you have about the vulnerability within yourself on the energy that you claim to care about that is expressing those qualities and characteristics. And so we see here that this is a lot of the, and I like to see this because this is a lot of the masculine energy that's understanding that the pathwork to harmonious relationship, this is what we mean when we say it starts in here, right? And we don't mean that in a lovey-dovey way. We mean fix it. We mean fix it. Get to work, get chopping, get into this, like get into that space where you start healing your relationship to the vulnerability you find in yourself, and then see what it does to your relationships. All right. Now this brings us to the feminine energy. And for feminine energy, again, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to, we're going to be utilizing, I'm feeling Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the headspace of feminine right now. 3 cards. 1, 2, one more. We've got here the 3 of Cups in its upright. The Magician card in its reversal, and the 7 of Pentacles in its upright. A lot of cup energy right now in the headspace of feminine. And the thing about it, I keep on seeing, is a continuation as it relates to working into compassion is entirely proportional on appreciation, right? Compassion and appreciation, 2 sides of the same coin, right? And this is often what we see that is happening right now for a lot of feminine that is working into the space of setting or identifying those healthy boundaries. And a lot of that proportionality that we're effectively recognizing there has to do with the sense of building into, right? Building into the context of healing, right? And this is what's beautiful for a lot of the feminine energy, recognizing the divisiveness of comparison, right? The most divisive thing that has ever been thrown at feminine is pathwork of comparison, right? Because when feminine is working so much into the context of comparing themselves to others, they don't get to they don't make any progress in finding their own exquisite, right? It doesn't create the space. Like there's no room for exquisite when you're constantly comparing yourself, right? And it often creates, and comparison pathwork is pathwork of perpetual despair, right? Because there's always something else to compare the self to, right? It's never ending. And often the modality by which, and I see like a lot of the feminine working on some deep healing in this way, feeling a lot of feelings coming up, understanding that traumatic spaces are often built upon comparison, right? The space by which another person says, what makes you different? Instead of tell me why you are unique, is the difference by which another person is looking outside of the self at a template rather than recognizing and identifying what allows us to be able to embody and identify that part of the self that is so energetically exquisite. And I like this because a lot of this energy of feminine is working on, like, I keep on hearing like they're working on the space by which, like, I just keep on hearing like it's the energy that's like just paying attention, right? They're paying attention to how others, like to how others speak upon it. They're paying attention, right? Like when you want to identify, the space by which you yourself feel that sense of understanding, right? This is the energy that doesn't work, right? I feel like this is a lot of energy that no longer is in the space of trying to strive in the context of another person comparing them to something else, but rather like letting their legs do the talking, right? You know, like that's interesting. Bum, 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 bum. Just going. I'm gonna go over there now. Nope, I gotta go. Bye, bye. Right? Because you don't get anywhere with that. You don't get anywhere with that, right? You don't get anywhere with that. And so we see that for a lot of energy doing that work, right? I feel like it feels very much, right? And it's interesting because I feel like, and it's interesting too, because it has to do with how the energy is perceiving itself, right? So, and that's the thing I see that's difficult right now between masculine and feminine, right? Because for masculine, we see that masculine is looking at their own energy with a lot of that vitality or a lot of that energy by which they effectively articulate their frustration in relationality to working through the energetic frustration as it relates to how much harder it makes the energy that's truly on the pathwork of healing, while a lot of the feminine is working into the space of identifying, right, the feminine energy being a welcoming place, right? Like changing the energetic narrative of feminine being a welcoming place, not in the space by which they compare, but in the space by which they effectively embrace each other for the uniqueness that they are. And this is how we see that the energies are effectively healing within the context of their own energetic space self. Now, this brings us to non-binary energy. And for non-binary energy right now, we're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. We've got here, ooh, we got a spinner. All right, we've got, that's transverse. Okay, stop moving. Okay, sorry. We got a little chaotic card. Got a little chaotic card hanging out. Oh, look, the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, that makes sense. So we've got the Wheel of Fortune and it's upright. Okay, we've got the 2 of Wands that like would not stop spinning. It was going like this. I wish you guys, well, if you were following on the clock app, you probably saw it. The 2 of Wands in its reversal, in its transverse, and the 5 of Pentacles in its upright. Now let's talk a little bit about this energy here, because I want to describe the thing that we're seeing with a lot of this energy is working into, right? It's working into and I'm not, it's Pisces, it's a Pisces energy, right? I feel like there's potentially something happening there as it relates to emotional expansion. And what we're effectively identifying, and I like to point this out, There are many different ways to work through emotional expansion. But the emotional expansion that we often feel, and it almost feels like a bit of a solar plexus expansion, which is the space of being able to feel many different things at once. And I want to describe everything I keep on seeing when I read into this energy articulates the fact that they're very deeply invested in understanding their own complication, right? And this is what we talk about with the mystery of the self, right? The self is always a mystery. There's always a aspect of the self that feels like it's ineffable, right? And when we are energetically, and this is a nice thing, when we are effectively centered in the self, we are obsessed with our own mystery in the best way possible, right? Which is the work by which we recognize that we can never fully understand the self, right? The unconscious is literally, the unconscious is a place by which even when you map it, there's more to explore, right? Like that's the nature of the unconscious. You're like, oh look, I mapped this part of the unconscious. Oh look, just keeps going. Oh, it just keeps going. I don't know how long it looks really far down there, right? But the recognition of being able to understand, right? The excitement and the delight that we bring to understanding the self becomes a delight for everybody around us, right? You want to talk about making yourself a safe space? Get very invested in mapping your own unconscious, right? Because the space is that when you go in there, right? Like when you go in there, you find weird stuff, but then you also work to understand it. You work to energetically resolve it. And the space by which the more you get to understand, the more you understand and resolve it, the more that it becomes a gift to everyone around the self, right? Because it's the space by which you're weird, but you own your weirdness. You're like, yeah, like it's just like, and this is the hard part about it, right? Because what happens, and this is what happens, then we talk about why you need to do your shadow work. What happens when somebody else is avoiding the self, right? When another person is residing in the house of the self and they're doing everything they can to avoid the work of understanding the self, what triggers, right? What triggers someone who's avoiding the work of understanding the self? Another person who is delighting in the journey of understanding, right? Because the first thing you have to do in order to overcome that is navigate the fear of the self. And the fear of the self is a big thing, right? There's a lot of that. There's a lot of those anxieties. There's a lot of those worries. And often, and this is why we talk about the fact that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, because a lot of the harm, right? A lot of the harm that happens on this earth, unfortunately, happens from energy that would rather project harm in another than do the important vital work in understanding and healing the fear they feel in finding vulnerability within. And this is why we have to understand there is no more precious gift than the vulnerability that we find within ourselves, even if we feel energetically frightened when we find it there, because this is what we recognize. This is a quality and characteristic of vulnerability. Vulnerability holds hands with fear because it is the space by which we articulate something that we energetically care about. And what happens, right? What happens if you don't heal the fear connected to vulnerability? Then anyone who loves you will never feel your love. They'll never feel the love because you're too afraid to be vulnerable. They'll only feel the fear. And that's when love becomes terrifying. Because if you want to understand that most of the trauma that happens on this earth does not happen because another person wants to hurt another individual. It has to do with not healing the association of the fear that is connected to vulnerability. And when we don't heal it, nobody feels the good part of love, which is the vulnerability, but they feel instead all of the fear that we carry with the fact that we have that vulnerability. And that becomes another person's trauma. So this is a lot of the energy that works into, right? They work into the space of bravery, and they don't do it for the self. They do it because they've experienced that. They do it because they know that path work far, far too well. They understand how devastating and dangerous it is when you're not navigating and finding the bravery to confront the fear attached to vulnerability, because that is how they themselves have been hurt in the past. Now, this brings us back to the masculine energy. 3 cards for masculine, and we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the heart space of masculine. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the 7 of Wands in its upright, the King of Wands in its upright, and the 8 of Pentacles in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about this energy here. And I want to point out, we've got some cohesion that's happening in these cards that I want to bring to your attention. Why? Because we've got a 7 of Pentacles in the head space of feminine. We've got an 8 of Pentacles in the heart space of masculine. Now, what does that effectively communicate to us? There's a lot of this, a lot of the masculine energy that's working on healing right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Recognizing that the journey of healing is active listening, right? There's a lot of energy of masculine that's recognizing that a lot of the false premises that they've built in relationality to a connection with feminine, being like, did you hear that from a feminine? Or did you hear that from a masculine that claimed to know feminine? Right? And this is what happens. Like, you want to talk about idolatry, right? The idolatry that we create in the false premise of believing something about another, not because that we know them, but because it talks more about how we feel about ourselves than it does about them, right? And this is why we see that a lot of the masculine energy is coming to grips with the fact that a lot of the false premises about feminine have more to do with the fantasy, right? The fantasy of unhealed masculine that sees feminine in the modality of something to be energetically feared, right? Because again, let's talk about this. What happens when you haven't healed the vulnerability that you find within yourself? Then anywhere you see vulnerability, you feel fear. So do you see how dangerous it is for the energetic connection by which another person articulates that they fear the vulnerability within the self, and then you're surprised when you have fear in relationality to the energy by which you seek that vulnerability, right? The fear acts as a mirror, right? And our ability to face our fear clarifies that mirror. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, right, the articulation of literally having to see unhealed masculine pontificate on feminine, having never even heard, listen, and I see the energy going, you're articulating a lot about feminine. When was the last time you spoke to feminine, right? You have a lot to say. You have a lot to say about the quality and nature of feminine. When was the last time you truly sat down and connected with feminine, right? Because the difference between a bias, right? The difference between a bias and a connection is conversation, right? The difference between an assessment from proximity versus being in proximity is the modality by which we come to understand. And so the path of exploring is built upon learning. So we see that this is a lot of the masculine energy getting much more attenuated, right? Like getting much more attenuated to being able to notice or recognize the masculine energy that puts through the qualities and recognition of active listening, right? This space by which another person says, I know this, trust me, versus I know because I asked, right? I know, trust me, versus I know because I asked. I asked, I had a conversation. I brought the question to the person rather than making a gross assumption, right? And that's what a gross assumption is. A gross assumption is seeing something from the outside that you have no understanding of, and then believing profoundly that you know what's energetically happening. failing, but and then being like, did you talk to them about that? No, why? Because I was too afraid. Oh, there's that fear again, right? And when we carry fear, we often have the tendency of building gross assumptions, right? Because it's like, I'll just build an assumption on it instead of just asking, instead of just asking. Now, this brings into, and this is what's beautiful, right? This is what's beautiful about a lot of the masculine energy, understanding, right? Love is in the asking, right? Who doesn't love a beautiful question, right? And that's what we keep on seeing. There's something really beautiful about, I keep on hearing there's something very interesting that's happening in the heart space of masculine, working through the difference between gross assumptions and beautiful questions. Now we continue into the feminine energy, feminine heart space, and we're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for the heart space of feminine right now. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. We've got here the King of Wands in its reversal. This should look familiar. We just drew the King of Wands in its upright here. We have the King of Cups in its upright. A lot of king energy right now in the heart space of feminine. 5 of Swords in its upright. What makes a king, right? That's what we're effectively seeing. And I keep on, and the thing about it, and this is what we see is particularly and especially, right? Right, we've got the King of Cups here. And the King of Cups is the king of active listening, right? That's what the King of Cups is. It's a king of active listening. They sit on the water, right? They have the balanced emotions. They listen to themselves. They hold 2 cups. Why does the King of Cups hold 2 cups? They hold their own emotions. They're teaching us the lesson that say, when we learn to hold our emotions in a state of balance, guess what happens? We find the capability. We find the expansion point. It's amazing, right? You want to be able to expand? Start being able to carry your emotions. See how much bandwidth you find in being able to find space to hold others, right? It's the generosity that grows because we put our force of intention on things. Our limitations are our limitations when we feel energetic frustration from things and walk away, right? When you get stronger, you can hold things for longer. But the only way that you can hold something for longer is if you go through the frustration of feeling something that allows you to come into the space of expansion. Your expansion is on the other side of your frustration. And when you recognize that, and we recognize it in every other context except in the space of emotions, right? Your emotional bandwidth will exponentially increase. And it starts with your own ability to navigate your own. And this is why disassociation is so detrimental and dreadful. Because, and this is a continuation of what we learn with Aquarius lessons, there's no such thing as not feeling emotions. And when you think that you've turned them off, you've let them control everything. You can't put your emotions somewhere. You can't hide your emotions. You put them into the unconscious, and now they're everywhere. Now everywhere you look, there are those emotions that you don't want to face, right? Everybody else is going to have to deal with them. So the observation of being like emotional responsibility is the ability to effectively articulate and recognize this. And feminine is exhausted, right? Feminine is energetically exhausted because feminine often feels that they have to carry the weight of the emotions of others who don't want to have the responsibility for them in their life, right? The emotionality, the space by which the feminine often feels like they have to make bandwidth for those that don't want to be responsible for their own emotions. This is a lot of the feminine that says, right? Paying like the space of the feminine saying that when they do that, it's not doing anybody any favors, right? Because this is the feminine that understands that when you carry something for another person and you don't let them know you're carrying it, you're condoning their own vulnerability. You're not actually helping them. You're hurting them. And when feminine recognizes this, right? When feminine realizes this, then feminine starts to articulate more. And they don't articulate from a place of anger, right? They don't articulate from a place of volatility. They articulate with emphaticness, saying to another person, I care about you and I want you to be strong, right? I would rather you be strong than have to navigate the feeling of energetically always being wrong. Because what happens, right? When we can't handle frustration, we walk away from our blessings. Your blessing will frustrate you. Your blessing will energetically irritate you. Your blessing will make you feel things that you have never felt before. So the modality of understanding that the ability to effectively not carry the emotions for others, this is feminine that's recognizing there's no gift, right? You are not a saint. If you're carrying the emotions of others, you're actually weakening them. You're weakening them. You're making them more vulnerable. You're making them less able to carry them for themselves. The strength that we find is not recognized in the feminine as being gentle, but being firm and being articulate in relationality to understanding the significance and the importance of doing vital work. And that is not the space. And here's the feminine recognizing that if another person sees that as the feminine being on their case, then they're not very invested in their healing journey, are they? And you can't get anywhere with someone that does not aspire to do the work, right? It builds upon, and this is the feminine recognizing that the emotions are not there to heal. They're there to discern. Emotions can heal everything, but only if they're combined. Our emotions are sublime because when they're combined, they can heal everything. But when they're held in by themselves, they are a discernment engine. Continuing to get clarification, and this is moving us back towards non-binary, heart space of non-binary, we'll be utilizing the Tarot of the Divine. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. We have here the Magician card in its upright, the Justice card in its upright, and the 10 of Swords in its upright. And this is the, like, this right here, this is what I mean in relationality to this energy working through. Like, this is why that two of Wands was spinning like crazy when I dropped it on the table, right? Because this is the energy, right? This is energy, like a wheel. I got to tell you, Wheel of Fortune, 2 of Wands is like the perpetual motion machine of energetic activation. It is the energy that often feels like and I keep on getting the energy that had to effectively work upon their own energetic. There's nothing more frustrating than when another person says, oh, like, oh, you're so in tune. And another person goes, thank you. I needed to do that to survive. I see the energy. Where'd you get? Oh, where did you get that? Where did you get that attunement? Survival, survival. And it shouldn't be necessary, right? Like, that's what I see the energy saying. Should not, like, a lot of rage being held with that, right? There's something to be said about a healing journey that one feels like it's not a luxury, it's a necessity, right? There's something, and this is what I keep on seeing with a lot of that energy, working into the space of being like, yeah, that healing journey, you see, it wasn't a luxury, it's a necessity, right? And it has to do with being able, and the energy saying, yeah, I looked at uncomfortable things, right? And I think that there's something really important that I see there as it relates to a lot of the energy working through their own rage. Because often the space, I keep on hearing, often the space of entitlement, right? The space of entitlement is articulated in the observation of navigating, seeing necessity and making the false premise of choice there, right? Our entitlement shows when we see somebody operating out of a state of need and saying, why did you make that choice, right? That's another person's entitlement showing. And I feel like this energy often feels like everywhere they look, what do they see? Entitlement, because they are on an energetic journey by which they became who they needed to in order to survive. And another person says, why do you keep insisting on making those choices? Why do you keep on making that? Why don't you just make different choices? As if you could. As if you could. As if something that you do from a place of need was as easy as making a choice. And so this is why I've got, like, there's a lot of, like, I feel like there's a lot of energetic fire in the heart space there, because the frustration, the absolute rage you feel when you encounter entitlement, and often, and this is the hard part with entitlement, sometimes entitlement is not a lot, like, the hard part with entitlement is there's some entitlement that can only be navigated via the education, right? And that's the hard part with entitlement, which is there's different modalities of entitlement. There is the entitlement, and this is what I keep on seeing, there is the entitlement that seeks to know, right? There is the and this is why it was spinning. There is the entitlement that seeks to know, which is the energy by which another person, and you cannot, and here's the thing about it, you cannot fault someone. You cannot fault someone. It's also entitlement for faulting someone who has not had to experience trauma. Nobody can help. Nobody can help the fact. Nobody can help the fact that they didn't experience trauma, right? Sometimes, this is why we don't compare. We do not get in a trauma comparison game, right? We cannot control, but we can control our ability of wanting to understand more, right? We can control our ability of seeking to know, and the knowing is what is divine, right? The desire to understand and the desire to grow is the most sublime divine gift that we have, because that understanding is and this is why you have to be humble, right? You have to be humble if you seek to know, because it's a space by which you articulate the fact that you don't know everything. How can you learn more unless you are willing to grow? And so this is the energy that has become very, very attenuated in being able to see the differences in entitlement, which is the entitlement that seeks to understand. The entitlement by which another person says, I genuinely don't know. I wish you could help me understand more, right? The place by which our heart, that is a heart opening, right? The space by which another person says, I need you to open up so that I can understand, versus the entitlement that comes from the directive of another person that refuses to learn more. The entitlement by which another person feels that their experience is the complete one. And if you're ever unsure, if you're on the wrong path, feeling like you know everything is usually a sign that you are way off track, right? The modality by which you recognize or operate or feel that you're, and this is a thing, best, what we identify is best, is recognizing the difference between something that is best and generous. A good best is a generous best, which means something that we feel is something that we would eagerly give another person. When our best is generous, then we come into the space of building healthy things. But when our best is self-centered, when our best is only navigating the directive of the self, then we have the space by which we feel everything needs to be saved, right? Notice that tendency? You found the best. Oh, you found the best. And now everything needs to be saved, because everything is a mission by which you need to apply your best to things. And this is what we talk about the fact of saying, be wary of love that feels like it must correct, because love is listening, right? Love is listening and navigating and serving to the need of love. Love is not directive and saying, I know what needs to happen there. I know what needs to be done. Continuing, and this is energy that has experienced that over and over again. Not the fact that they've experienced trauma, but they've had to go through the experience of trauma that was disguised as love, that was trying to correct instead of embrace. Continuing to get clarification, moving into the unconscious of masculine. Again, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. We're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for the heart space, the unconscious of masculine. 3 cards, please. 2, 3. We've got here the Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. That card's been coming up a lot lately. The 6 of Cups in its reversal. And yeah, the High Priestess in its reversal. I'm not surprised to see that there too. So let's talk a little bit about this. And this has to do, like, it's a conversation. And I keep on hearing, we are not here. We are not here to fix each other. We're not here to fix. There is nobody, if you do not feel fixed, I hate to break this to you, there is nobody on this planet that's going to fix you. And there's nothing more detrimental than looking at things and going, a little of that would fix me. No, it won't. There's not a little of anything on this earth that will energetically fix the heart space unless we invest in the work on the self. But you'll often see this, right? What will you often see in those that are not, they're not in the space by which they desire to heal, right? They feel the energetic violation in another person refusing to fix them, right? The space by which another person goes, my life would be perfect if I had that. My life would be perfect if I had that. You're denying me the thing that would allow my life to be perfect. That happens from within. It's not people. People do not fix our emotional conditions. But you'd be surprised those that feel entitled to other people because they don't want to do the work on themselves. And so they see everyone around them as something that they can effectively possess, that they feel that they have the energetic right to. And what do you often see with the unhealed? You are denying me the right to your person. Nobody has a right to another person. Relationships are often, you'll often see the energy, right? You see the grasping, right? The angry clutch of someone whose heart is not healed, who says, I am angry because I don't have that relationship. I am angry. How dare you deny me? How dare you deny me the relationship that would fix me? And do you see the ugliness? Do you see the ugliness that arises as that person articulates? Do you see all of the fear that they have not worked on coming through in the fact that their desire is reaching for things that then run from them and then say, where are you going? Right? This is why we heal our heart space, because relationships we are not owed relationships by anyone. But those who often have not done the work to heal their heart space, you'd be surprised because they try to build energetic conditions by which they articulate the fact that they feel very much like they should be owed one. And the modality by which we understand and recognize that quality, right? That quality of you owe me, right? There is nothing more energetically ugly than the space of saying you owe me when it comes to relationship, when it comes to partnership. We are gifts to each other. When we give things to each other, they are energetic gifts, right? And gifts are not given with the sense of expecting something reciprocated in return. So we see that even a lot of the energy working through these experiences, articulating and identifying, this is why I see a lot of the masculine working through the frustration at other masculine energy. It feels self-directed. It's a masculine almost saying to masculine, do you understand how abominable? Do you understand how monstrous you appear to everybody in your experience when you get angry about the fact that you don't have a blissful relationship and you say, somebody owes me a blissful partnership. Somebody owes me a blissful partnership. You're right, someone does. You should take that up to the front desk of the self. You should really take that up to the front desk of the self. You should run that one upstairs, right? You should run that up. When was the last time you ran that one upstairs, right? And this is what we see. And this is a lot of the energy that articulates this as, if you want to find something, stop being angry at it. Start thinking that it is sacred. When you want something, stop being angry that it is there. Start being patient because it is sacred. while we see for the feminine energy right now, unconscious of feminine, 3 cards, please. And we're going to be utilizing for the feminine unconscious, the tarot of the divine. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the Page of Coins in its upright, the 6 of Coins in its reversal, and the 6 of Wands in its reversal. So there's a lot, and I have to point out, there's a lot of 6 energy right now in the unconscious of both masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. 6s in the tarot are a card of harmony. 6s are a card of harmony. The number 6 is often associated with harmony in tarot. So what we're effectively identifying is, again, make it make sense, right? The dysregulation that demands harmony. You can't make this stuff up. Feminine is far too used to this, right? The dysregulation always demands harmony, right? You can't demand harmony, right? Harmony is something that you blend into, right? Harmony is something that you listen to. You listen, right? You listen and then you join into it, right? That's how you find harmony. You look at something and say, what do I have to do? How can I add? How can I energetically contribute? What can I put forth to create better harmony, right? Dysregulation demands harmony because dysregulation refuses to energetically contribute to harmony and then gets angry that there isn't any harmony to be found, right? It's the space by which you often see, right? And the space by which, and make it make sense, the wild paradox in the identification of someone demanding harmony actually creates disharmony, right? If you've got a bunch of energy that's harmonic, right? You've got a bunch of energy that's working in harmony, and then someone walks in and starts demanding harmony, they've created disharmony, right? Disharmony we carry disharmony with us. And often the space by which we feel energetically disharmonious is why we can't find it. And this is why we see that for a lot of the feminine, working through experiences of navigating, healing from experiences by which energy tried to create a disharmony within the self. A good way of creating disharmony within the self, right? If you want to go fast, comparison, right? The modality by which another person, instead of seeing one's exquisiteness, tries to come into the place of comparison is often the space by which another person says, right, that another person finds another person lacking because they're not like another person. And what happens, and this is why comparison is often, when you see comparison, you don't stick around for it. You walk away and you keep walking. Because what happens when another person's comparing you to somebody? They'd say, I'd rather have that. What did you just say? Wait. Let me get this straight. Walk me through this again. Did you just compare me to them? Did you just articulate a comparison to them? Because what you're really saying there is you'd rather have that. Because that's all comparison says. Comparison literally, when you remove the minutia from comparison, and another person compares you to another person, right? In a negative way, what they're really saying is I'd rather have that. Why would you ever stay? Why would you ever stay in a modality by which another person says, when you think about comparison like that, why would you ever stay when someone say, I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that. Okay, go. Have fun. Have fun with that, right? When somebody says, right, here's the thing about it, and this is why I see feminine healing, right? This is how you see feminine healing, right? When somebody says, when you look at comparison that says, I'd rather have that, what do you say? Have fun with that. Have fun. Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. I gotta go, right? Have fun with that. It's fine. You don't stick around. You don't argue it. You don't try to praise you don't try to escalate yourself. What are you doing? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. When somebody says, I'd rather have that, you say, not you go knock yourself up. You go climb that tree. I'll be right here. You go for it. I'll be right here with you. I'll be here. I'll be waiting for you. You knock yourself out. You go for it. You go for it. Oh no, I gotta go. And you don't stick around for conversation. And then that energy goes, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Right? Where'd you go? Some things don't require conversation. Some things don't require conversation. Right? And this is why I see this is a lot of feminine that says, right? Like when I keep on getting and I keep on hearing, and what is the sound of bliss? Loving your life, right? And this is a lot of the feminine that says, I don't have any time for comparison. I'm too busy loving my life, right? And when you're in that space of loving your life, I guarantee you, if you become very invested in loving your life, you're going to figure out you don't have time for comparison anymore. You don't have time for that. It's exhausting. Why would you ever want to compare when you could be spending that time loving your life? Loving your life as fully as much as you can. And then what's beautiful about it is when you love your life, you become a joy for everyone around you, right? It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? That joy is the most replenishable resource. And it's the coolest thing, because here's the best part about joy. There's always more of it. I can give you all my joy, and guess what? I still got a whole bunch. I've actually got more now. I got more now, right? I got more joy than I started with because I gave you some of mine. And when we recognize that, I see this energy kind of moving through. And this is why, right? This is why when someone comes demanding harmony, we walk away and they go, I demand a conversation, being like, your demand is why you can't find it. We don't demand things. We give towards them. And that is the gift that we have. That is the gift back to a world by which we're always trying to make better. Continuing to get clarification, non-binary energy, unconscious, we'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see here. We've got the 8 of Wands in its upright. We've got the Page of Swords in its upright. And we have the Devil card in its reversal. So what are we effectively seeing that's happening right now in the unconscious? And this has to do, and I need to stress this, this is a continuation of what I've been seeing in this unconscious space. This is energy. I keep on hearing, this is energy that's given up on trying to convince someone that they're not the dramatic one long ago. Trauma loves drama. Trauma loves drama. And here's the funny thing about trauma. When you walk away from trauma, you will be identified as the source of drama. When you walk away from trauma, you will be identified as the source of drama. Right? And this is, and I need to point out, this is energy that is very attentive to that. This is energy that when I keep on hearing, this is energy when another person talks about someone, they're like, tell me all about it. No, I'm all ears. No, please go on. Yes, please tell me about the dramatic one. I keep on hearing them go, tell me about the dramatic one, right? Because the observation of recognizing, when you recognize that trauma loves drama, when you recognize that trauma loves drama, and often what you will experience when you walk away from trauma is that another person will identify that the trauma will identify you as a dramatic one, right? This is the energy that goes, please, can you please tell me more about this dramatic energy? Tell me all about it, right? I would love to learn more about this dramatic energy, because it is being able to recognize and identify, right, the source, right? The source of the actual issue, right? And this is the energy that has become very good, right? They become very, very good at hearing what another person is saying, right? Not what they want, not what they're saying, but what they're actually saying, right? The ability to understand, having gone through experiences, I keep wondering, having gone through experiences by which they themselves have had to escape trauma and being articulated as the dramatic one, right? I see this energy being like, please tell me, like when they hear somebody, when they see somebody articulating about something, going, yes, please, no, please tell me more. Tell me more about this drama. Tell me more about this drama, right? Because they themselves are very good at energetically assessing through others' conversations what was actually happening. Bottom of the deck on this reading, moving into the masculine, moving back towards masculine. We're utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the bottom of the deck for masculine. This Four of Pentacles has been coming up a lot, right? And this is a lot of the energy that recognizes, right? This is why possessiveness ruins everything, right? When we understand that we are gifts to each other, we understand that possessiveness is something that we have to heal within ourselves, right? When you try to possess something, you break it, right? The modality by which we articulate how much we mean to each other is articulated in what we give forth to one another, not the space by which we try to energetically control one another, right? And this is a lot of the energy of masculine that is working through the context of understanding. And this is the thing about it. This is what's hard. That desire, right? That desire to control is natural, right? It is one of our baser instincts. And this is why we call it a base. This is why we call it a base instinct, right? Because we understand that in a cruel world, right? And we understand that in trauma environments, the things that would effectively hurt us in a healthy place protect us in an unhealthy one. So when we think of our possessiveness as a trauma response, right? As a trauma response to a cruel world, we become very, very invested in working to heal it. And that doesn't mean it's ever gone, but we're ever attentive to our own related triggers as it relates to the tendency. While we move into feminine unconscious, and we'll be utilizing for feminine right now the Tarot of the Divine, the Empress in its upright. And so this is the energy of the Emperor. Like, this is the feminine that's working through, right? As you will heal, you'll probably be less liked. I'm sorry to say it. As you will heal, you'll probably be less liked. Because energy that feels, like I said, you've got a bunch of energy. Look, you got a bunch of energy here that wants to be energetically possessive, that feels that they are owed energy from other people. So what is going to happen? You've got energy that feels that others owe them energy, right? And as you do the work to have those healthy boundaries, right? Be prepared for immediately encountering someone who's going to take your healing journey personally, right? They're going to be like, why aren't you giving me the energy I'm owed from you? And being like, and having to be like, we don't owe anybody anything. We're each other's gifts, right? We go where's energetically necessary. And the space by which we're enjoying each other's lives is not in the space by which we demand from one another, but the space by which we energetically appreciate. So this is a lot of the feminine that just making peace. I know it's painful, making peace with the fact that you're healing, you will be healing, and another person will say they're not nice, right? You'll be healing, and it doesn't mean that you're not nice, but if another person feels energetically demanding and they're not building into the context of listening, actively listening towards feminine, this is the feminine that just makes peace with the fact that that is the condition by which they will heal, right? They will be energetically healing, and there will be those that have hard feelings about it. And that's the feeling, like that is the feminine that understands that it's okay if something's hard, as long as you understand the context or the reason why someone has those hard feelings. While moving towards non-binary space, we'll be utilizing, make that go, we'll be utilizing this, no, not this one. Oh, there it is. We'll be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego, unconscious, the Emperor in its reversal. These are some heavy cards today. We got the Empress in its upright on the bottom of the deck and the Emperor in its reversal. And I want to stress, like, that Emperor in its reversal, like, this is a continuation of what we see in the other unconscious spaces, right? This is the energy that says, even though they recognize it, it doesn't make it less painful. you know, like that's what I keep on seeing, right? The space by which they often feel that this is energy that gave up. Like, and I want to describe this. When we talk about surrendering, this is what we mean by surrender, right? It's the energy that articulates that they've never given up on themselves, right? This is the energy that says, I've never given up on myself, but I've had to give up on others' perceptions of me in order to move closer towards the self, right? The modality or the circumstance by which they've often felt, right? And this is why I see that even when they receive apologies, right, the apology doesn't feel like I keep on hearing the only thing nicer than an apology is an apology at the moment that it's necessary, is what I keep on seeing. Because the modality by which another person articulates to us after a period of time that they owe us an apology for something that happened long ago is the space by which we've had to carry that weight, right? It's the space by which we've carried that weight all that way, and it makes us stronger. But it's almost the space by which we ourselves, I keep on seeing, it's not the reason, right? It's not the reason. It's not based upon the need for something. It's the energy that often had to make the choices that they knew were best in the wake of others, trying to articulate upon the fact that they were not making the best choices, only to find out later. This is energy that often has the modality by which another person comes back to them and says, I understand now. I see I was energetically wrong. I see I've reached the maturation point in seeing the fact that you were making a mature choice. But the hard part with that work is it does not, like the apology does not erase the wound. It doesn't make it go away. It creates a balm in the space by which it reaffirms, but it's a lonely place, right? It's a lonely place. It's a lonely, blessed place to exist in the space by which you know you're making the right choices. But even as you do so, you recognize often that there's energy that will not come into that understanding until later. And so for a lot of that energy, working through those modalities or experiences, especially with emotionality like we have during these particular eclipse cycles, feelings from the past reemerging, but the feeling of the emotions that are fortified with the understanding of the self. It's an emotional time, and it's reaffirming, and there's catharsis there. But I even keep on getting, it's the catharsis happening in the observation of another learning. And I keep on hearing that work is always empowering, but it's bittersweet. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you'd like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the World Card. We've got tarot class tonight, and you are welcome to join us. You can still sign up. All you need to do if you'd like to become part of that tarot class is head on over to my Stack and become a paid subscriber. We are going to be studying the court cards in the Sword Suite this evening, and your subscription will give you entry to our class tonight, as well as access, if you are a monthly subscriber, to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll be giving you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning the next class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a complimentary, you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Class Archive, as well as the opportunity of receiving a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will give you insights in terms of my schedule, both in person and online, as well as my mystic meditation articles. I just wrote one recently on navigating this new moon energy that we're experiencing. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow. That is our daily collective read. We are going to get started on personal readings. Congratulations, Nicole. You got our highest gifter today. You will be the third person read for. And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you will be the fourth person read for. It is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read. Before we get started, though, we are doing a giveaway. When we get to 50K likes, I will be gifting a reading back to the collective. Make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. And I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as it was reading. Oh my God, that's so exciting, Nicole. Oh, that sounds so cool. Excellent. Excellent. And thank you so much, Jan, for the follow. Excellent. I know. Did you see that spinning card? It was wild. Oh, it was glitching? Oh, that's wild. Okay, that's so weird. Hold on a minute. I made it my life goal to understand the self. I have a few years to go. Tap to claim per. Absolutely. Thank you for those hashtags, Nicole. And JN, thank you for that heart. Ona, we do 1 card readings for super fans. So if you become a super fan, I'm happy to do a 1 card for you. And then if you send a heart me, once you're a super fan, you're also eligible for an animal spirit guide card. You can also get on the list for an animal spirit guide reading if you just want to send for the donation. It would be 3 cards for $29 or more for non-subscribers. Absolutely. And thank you, Anna, for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. And thank you as well, Nicole. Thank you for receiving as well, Ed. Blessings to you as well, Logan. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Yeah, it is an enlightening. I mean, I feel like this is going to be a very enlightening eclipse process. And I want to point out, I feel like one of the reasons for that is because the totality point isn't visible, right? We had a totality point all the way in Antarctica. And I think that there's something to be said about that. It's almost like an internal eclipse process. So new ways of carrying emotions, a lot of internal calibration. I wrote a whole article on this on the Substack. Emotional rebalancing is going to be heavy right now. And thank you, Belle, for the follow. Make sure that you're resting and hydrating if that's the case, Belle, right? Prioritizing care of the self. Spirit's first directive is make sure that we can care for the self so that we can care for others around us. And thank you as well, Kay, for supporting that question as well. Thank you for confirmation, Ed. Thank you as well, Jay Ann. And thank you, Full Speed, for the follow. Thank you, Crystal Star, for the follow. Betty, thank you for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. Oh, I'm sending you so much support on that journey, Kay. It's never easy to navigate situations like that. Me, thank you for the follow. One of them was always judging others who hadn't been through as much as them. But this is what we mean. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about. We cannot fault others for not going through trauma. That is also entitlement. Yes. Sending you support as well, Per. Oh, dear. And thank you as well, Ed. And thank you so much, Wonder Woman, for the follow. To the front desk of the self, exactly. And thank you, Kelly, for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. And Mariam, thank you as well. How you doing, Brianna? If you'd rather have that, have it. Exactly. Yep. Hi there. How are you doing, Team Olsana? Good to see you today. Ro, that's exactly what I said. Go have fun with that. Thank you as well, Flo. And who even? Thank you for reposting. Oh, thank you for the compliment, Squidia. I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. Have a great, good to see you, Avatar. Excellent. And thank you, Island Girl, for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. User 256, thank you for the follow. Yeah, we just finished the collective mini. We're about to get started on personals. And thank you as well. I got you. Thank you, Ivana. And thank you as well, Tanya, for the follow. I'm not sure what you're saying no about, Elizabeth. Yes, excellent, Nicole. Congratulations. And thank you, Michelle, for those butterflies. We're going to be having a lot of conversation on butterflies tonight in class. So if you are butterfly focused, it'll be a good class for you tonight. Chanty, I didn't see your question come through. So I think it might have been blocked or filtered, my dear. Usually eclipses mess me up, but this one has me over the moon and giddy. That's great though, but that's what I mean. I told you it's going to feel more like an internal eclipse right now, I think, like emotional reset. Yeah. Can we fault them for choosing not to heal it though? I mean, that's a case by case basis, right? Super. It's case by case. Sometimes no, sometimes yes, right? It's really like that's where we have to get into an in-depth reading. Yep, continue with that positivity, Kay. Yeah, you didn't see it either, right, Kay? All right, friends, we are going to get started on personal readings. If you would like to get on the list for today, the list is open. It's a great time to get on the list. You'll be the third person read for. I will also stress I'm probably only taking about 2 more people on the list today. So if you want to get on the list for a reading, I would encourage you to do so sooner rather than later. My schedule is going to be such that I'll probably only be able to prioritize super fans and pre-registered readings for the next few days. So if you would like to get on the list, today is the day to get on the list. What's plasterboard, Adam? I don't know what that is. How are you doing, dear? All right, we're going to get started. First person we're reading for today is Ivana. Ivana, if you're here, can you respond in all caps and let me know? I believe you said it's on the disco. But before we get started, and just a reminder to anyone joining us across the other apps as well, you can get on the list in the same way, the tree that has links in it in my bio. You're so welcome, Opalescent Centaura. Thank you for being here and receiving these messages. And I'm just going to pull up. While I'm pulling up Ivana's question, we are going to warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I'll reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the Hinds. Thank you for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. And my friends, please thank Kay for their help. Kay, did you want your one card before you pop off? I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. Well done, Kay. All right. And let me just pull up here. Okay, I got you, dear. Highest priority, please. You know, I feel like it's in continuation with what you are asking in relationality to this particular eclipse process. I feel like you're going through this, like the one thing I keep on seeing that's happening right now is understanding the nature of what's occurring makes it less devastating, right? Like, I think that you really hit the nail on the head when you articulated the fact that you're working towards balance in your life. And when you're working towards balance in your life, the first thing you're going to see is imbalance, right? You're going to see imbalanced relationships. You're going to see things that don't feel like they were ever in a state of balance. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, the star energy, right? Your energy is precious. We don't demand each other's energy from each other. We appreciate the fact that we have it. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, specifically with the salmon, right? I feel like I see you. I feel like a lot of this healing is not because you're doing things, like you're not doing things selfish right now. I feel like I see your time is changing because you have less of it. Like, I see you working tirelessly. And so I feel like the observation, right? The observation of another person taking you, doing something necessary personally, like there's not there's not much to be said after that. You know, like that, like when you see that, you know, it's often interesting because often when another person sees you working tirelessly and they take it personally, the first thing they'll articulate is the fact that you're being selfish. But where's the selfish energy coming from, right? If you're doing something that you have to do, there's nothing selfish about it. It's the fact that you're doing it because you need to. Sending you so much support on that journey, dear. All right, let's continue. The next person on the list for today, we're reading for Ivana. You're so welcome, dear. And guys, please thank Kay for all of their help today moderating. Ooh, okay, I love this question. But before we continue, we are going to warm up those intuition muscles. Hold on a minute. We are going to warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. Well, we already got the hind, so we're going to hold on that because I think the hind is important for this reading. But hold on. So one of the things I'm also looking for right now, where'd my sheet go? Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Let's get to it. And I'm going to pin up Ivana here. Make sure to give Ivana some love, friends. And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, it's an absolutely beautiful time to get on the list. You will be the third person read for. Where'd Ivana go? Okay. And is this outside tea? Perfect. So outside tea for Ivana's reading. What is my soul's true path regarding my spiritual gifts? And what stage of development am I in now? What is still dormant? And what must I do to consciously step into my full spiritual power? Beautiful question. Can I please get 4 cards? Wow. I feel like I see something really important on your path work right now, specifically in relationality to no longer doubting yourself. I don't know where this self-doubt is creeping up. Well, I do actually. I feel like you've had a lot of trauma related to energy that was trying to create the space of you doubting yourself. And the one message I'm getting on that is energy that was making you doubt yourself was possessive energy. Energy that was trying to make you doubt yourself was possessive energy, which is the space by which another person was trying to make you feel doubt, not because they didn't think that you were energetically capable of something, but because they were trying to keep you from moving in a certain energy, a certain direction. And I feel like the one thing that I see that is happening for you right now, and it feels really positive, is I see you finally being in a connection that feels supportive. I'm just observing something here by which another person is trying to help you find your confidence again. And it's going to feel like, I think it's going to feel a lot like inner child healing. It's going to feel a lot like you remembering who you were at a time before all of that doubt crept in. And I think it's hard too. And I have to stress this. And I sometimes I get very frustrated when I read certain energy because I keep on hearing a lot of this doubt feels like it feels like it was potentially preventing you from finding your own excellence. You know, like I literally see a situation of someone trying to articulate and say, you know, don't don't let them. I don't know why I keep on hearing somebody, and it has to, I need to point this out. I keep on hearing somebody say, like, don't let them have a big head about it, which is reminding me back, right? Reminding me back to the space by which another person, remember how you had that dream where someone was squeezing your head, right? It feels like further confirmation on that dream as it relates to somebody who like saw, like somebody who energetically recognized that you were exceptional. And instead I keep wondering, instead of helping you see it, they were doing everything they could to try to get you to energetically prevent you recognizing that sense of excellence. And I feel like I feel like there's a lot of ancestral healing that's happening there, because a lot of it I just keep on seeing is you stepping into your power, right? And a lot of that, you stepping into your power, is identifying, is like I keep on seeing, like it's you claiming ownership, right? It's almost you finding confidence in recognizing that that was energetically occurring, right? The space by which you see or identify the space by which another person, I just keep on hearing like the space by which another person was trying, like I just keep on getting this type of energy that's saying like, oh, you know, like don't let them recognize it, don't let them know, specifically and particularly because there was some kind of anxiety or fear of you growing. So I feel like that Like, one of the things I want to identify is you may have a lot of feelings that come up as you're working to connect back to yourself, because a lot of that energy that we're seeing there has to do specifically in relationality to identifying and recognizing. And I keep on getting this. How do I describe this? I feel like you've got a beautiful ability to read others' energy, is what I keep on seeing, especially with this world card, you know, like particularly you've got the world card here and the chariot. And a lot of that world card and chariot, like in combination, talk towards, I keep on hearing energetic, it's saying to me energetic rejuvenation, or the space by which we ourselves are able to effectively, I keep on saying, identify and recognize, identify and recognize what is effectively needed, or what is in energetic detriment. And I want to describe this because, and it's a continuation of what I effectively saw in your dream space as it relates to dimensionality. Because you'll remember that how we talked about the fact that you were working into the context of higher learning, or the space by which you yourself, like the higher version of self, was looking back towards the past version of self to understand or identify how to effectively teach something that was energetically intuitive, right? One of the things I'm also seeing in relationality to this, and this is where it gets a little bit akashic, is the recognition of the higher energetic self understanding the conditions by which you yourself feel like you've had to effectively overcome, right? Like the space by which you've had to overcome another person's doubts, or overcome another person trying to effectively diminish you, right? I feel like what's interesting about that is I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that energetic gift that's connected to your heart space in relationality to the compassion that you bring through. And not just the compassion that you bring through, but the way that you help others, right? Like the way you help others move into their own energetic heart opening, right? I feel like there's something about your gift that has a lot to do with good energy, and the work that we see, like, and often the thing with it is all energy is good energy, so long as we effectively apply it in the best way possible. So I feel like that's what I see, because it feels like there's something very therapeutic about your gift. And a lot of the work I keep on seeing, like that's working into the therapeutic context in relationality to your gift, is being able to see something, right? Is being able to see something that another person like might feel is detrimental, or might feel is devastating. And I almost see you like coming into the space of being able to energetically observe it, and being able to find, I keep on hearing like being able to find that sense of bravery, or finding that sense by which you yourself like are able to stay very, very energetically regulated as you work to heal circumstances or situations, right? I'm getting a lot of natural healer energy in relationality to this, because I like to point out healers, it's not enough for a healer to be empathetic. A healer needs to be really good with their energy in not letting other things impact or affect them. Bottom of the deck on this reading, yeah, there's that star card. in its reversal. And I keep on getting, what's interesting about this too, and I think we've talked about this, and it has a little bit to do with those dreams that I saw that you were having. A lot of you coming into, I feel like a lot of you coming into your power or understanding your gifts is going to feel like a memory, right? It's going to feel, it's not going to feel so much like something you're learning as something that you're remembering, is what I keep on getting. Because sometimes when I'm reading into energy, we get something new, right? Sometimes we get something new, sometimes we go back to things. And I keep on getting that there's something about the placement of that past life that came into this to effectively learn how to teach another something. And the only way that you can learn how to teach another something well is if you forget that you can do something, is what I keep on seeing. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. You will be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps. Pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing a giveaway today when we get to 50K likes. We are already at 33.2K. So when we get 50K, I'll be gifting that reading away. So make sure that you're tapping that screen. We'll get to 50K in no time. Be spicy. Thank you for the follow. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. You have a great day, Kay. And it is a beautiful question. And thank you, Rainbow, for those heart me's. Hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. How are you doing today, dear? Ivana, I had a lot of shadow work dreams, and I learned and accepted them and have felt very good and different, right? Like the shadow, like and that's what I meant in terms of like all energy is energy, like the shadow work dreams that are not affecting you. But the shadow work dreams by which you feel like you're observing but not absorbing, like that's a continuation of what I was seeing. And thank you for those roses, Nancy. Thank you for the follow, Be Spicy. Karmic past life stuff is huge and essential in my process. You do go to it every time. Well, it's very interesting because I've done work. There we go. These are your cards per. I've done work with this individual before, so we've tapped into some of the implications and relationality to what their past life was, and it's very interesting because the past life it seems to have strong indications of being able to have gifts that the present life has not yet like achieved. And Nancy, thank you for those gifts as well, for becoming a fan, becoming the 123rd member of my fan club. Oh, you weren't able to sleep because I tried to radically accept something and the universe pushed back. Well, let me tell you right now, Neptune is back in Saturn. So sleep is not, like Neptune and Pisces, good deep sleep. Neptune and Saturn, sleep, we're back into it. You guys remember what was happening with sleep last time Neptune was in Saturn? I mean Aries. You remember when Neptune was in Aries, what was happening with sleep? We're probably going to start having a lot of that again. It's helping though right now, the fact that the moon's in Pisces. I'd be interested to know about my gifts to better understand how to help and center myself. Absolutely. We can always read on that, Nicole. Yes. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Moon Witchery, for those heart me's. Good to see you, dear. How are you doing today? Oh, thank you, Ivana. I do my best with the mentorships. Have always enjoyed them. Thank you. Oh, Rainbow, I always appreciate when you come in. Rainbow, don't worry. We only have it in that place for the next 12 years. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. How you doing today, Moon Witchery? I'm doing good. I'm sending you so much support. Again, just happy to have you here, dear. All right, we're going to continue. No, and no pressure. Like again, that's why we do these. That's why we do these here, regardless of whether you have a reading or not. Hopefully something's here that you need. The next person we're reading for today, speaking of which, is Per. Per, what's going on with you? Ever since I was about to draw these cards, what's happening? What's going on? Direct message and disco. All right. And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, it's a great time to get on the list. I will point out, I'm going to be keeping the list somewhat brief today. So if you want to get on the list is open. You will be the second person read for. This is also a great time to get on the list because my time the next few days, the list is not going to be as open as it typically is. It's probably going to be reserved just for those who are super fans or who get on the list ahead of time. I know, I've got you on the list, Nicole. And if anybody else is on the hold list and would like to be added back to the list, go ahead and let me know what date you were put on the hold list, and I'll be happy to add you back. Taryn, thank you for getting on the list. And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you'll be the fourth person read for. Before we continue right now, though, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. Animal spirit guide cards. I've got the animal spirit guide card here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the hind. Thank you for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. And I'm going to pin up Per. Guys, make sure to give Per some love. User 067, I think you're projecting. Make sure that you're in a healthy, safe space. You're making accusations. I think this is the first time we've actually even communicated. So if this is not a healthy space for you to be in, or you're feeling threatened, I would encourage you to step out of the live and make sure that you're getting grounded. You are safe and nothing bad is happening to you here. And if you feel like something negative is happening, I would encourage you to go somewhere else, okay? Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Thank you. All right, let's continue. They're high five, so to speak. Oh, how you doing, dear? Oh, I do my best, Nicole. Thank you, guys. Oh, great. Oh, goody. I can't wait, Nick Rainbow. I can't wait for that. That sounds like it won't be dramatic at all. A conjunction of Neptune and Saturn and Aries doesn't sound dramatic at all. I got you, Per. Excellent. That we got the hind twice in a row, you know? All right, let's get to it. All right, and so is this inside tea? Hold on a minute. I'm just pulling up Per's question. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, hold on. We got it's half inside, half outside. Half inside, half outside tea. I need a moment. Okay. All right. Again, user 076, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. But I hope you find the healing that you seek. All right. Okay. And just bear with me. I'm just reading over the inside part of this. Yeah. This is some spicy tea. This is like... Hold on a minute. Wow. Ugh. Okay. Oh, it's a dream. Okay. Wait, is it a dream? Okay, oh, hold on. Ugh. Okay. All right, I got it. No, I got it. Yep. Okay, so basically we're having it's a dream that's effectively working through it's working through the context of third party interference in relationship, okay? And so, before we continue, and I need to pause, and again, I just want to apologize. So, user 07667, we have a strict policy here in not articulating or saying things that inspire fear or accusations to others. Um, you're 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 walking through something right now that you're clearly going through something that's difficult. I'm going to say this again. This is a place that is effectively for healing. And if I make the determination that something that you're experiencing here is creating hostility or frustration or worse, anxiety for you, then I have to make the choice to effectively mute you. Now you keep on, you're saying things about what I am effectively doing here. And that is you projecting onto me. You're making an assumption, and then you're taking that presumption and you're projecting what you believe is happening in this moment. I'm here to say that whatever you think is happening, I have no idea what you're articulating upon, nor does anybody else in this collective, which means that you need to step back and reassess what you're experiencing and ask yourself if being in this room right now is healthy for you, specifically and particularly because you're articulating upon, I'm doing personal readings right now for others that you are taking too personally, okay? So that the fact that you're articulating upon the fact that you're saying you're working through, you are projecting that you are articulating that in some way I'm giving the indication that you have wronged someone. Again, this is a projection that you're bringing into this space. And I'm saying this right now because I am going to make the determination to mute you. You're welcome to stay. I would encourage that maybe you get a space to be able to clear your head, because what you're saying right now in the space of the chat is not making much sense. And I only want you to be in this space if it feels like it is supportive to you, not in the space by which it's creating further confusion in relationality to something that you're going through. Okay? So again, I would encourage that maybe this isn't the best space for you if you're feeling a lot of that projection, or if you're in the space by which you're feeling like there's something negative directed towards you. I'm here to tell you there is nothing in this space right now that is directed towards you. This is a space of love, healing, and compassion. Okay? Thank you. All right, that said, and thank you guys. We're going to continue right now. So, getting back to Per's reading, interestingly, we are talking about a dream that is related to a dream that was involved in the possible interference of a third party in energetic connection. Can I please get 2 more cards to clarify upon the dream? So it's interesting too, because the way that you frame this dream, it feels very much, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the fact by which you're trying, I feel like the dream is partial shadow work. It's partial shadow work, and it's partially a dream from your guides. And a lot of that, and the way we're going to recognize the parts that feel like they're shadow work versus the parts that feel like they're energetically healthy is much in terms of the observation. And this is this is what we need to talk about. And this is also what you'll notice, right? You'll often notice this in the space of healthy spiritual practitioners in any context, right? Healthy spiritual practitioners will often articulate the space of providing something to a situation to help it, right? I like to think about it, right? I like to think about it as nourishment, right? So the context of healthy spiritual practitioners that provide nourishment is the space by which another person effectively brings something forth to effectively make something better. Now, unfortunately, right, we recognize this, that when someone is not in a healthy frame of mind, right? When someone is not in a frame of mind that feels best, the problem that often happens is that they build into a fear-based mindset, which is the observation of feeling like something is directed at them, and then they become energetically reactive about it. And what's interesting is I feel like there's something about this reading that is giving you indications of the mindset of the individual that was going through those experiences by which they made they articulated the determination of effectively trying to effectively center themselves in something that did not require them to be centered. And now the important thing, and this is where there's a question mark in this reading, that the guides are effectively bringing forth to you, is recognizing, right, the question that is behind the question, right? The question that is behind the question, and you articulated it yourself, right? The question that is behind the question is like you literally asked me one question, and that was why. Why, right? Now and this is requiring you, right? This is what we talk about in terms of peeling back the veil of understanding, because there's something else that needs to be taken into context that potentially may need to be recognized that was not taken fully into consideration at the time that those events were occurring. And that is effectively the state or the space by which you identify, right? If another person, right? If there was a situation by which you identified that there was a third party, right? A third party energy trying to interfere in partnership. The hard part about it is third party energy does not identify themselves as third party, right? Third party energy does not identify themselves as third party. Potentially a situation, experience by which they saw you, right? And this is why we have to be very conscious. We have to be very, very conscientious when I'm not even a big fan of utilizing that term, right? This is why I'm not a big fan of utilizing that term, right? Because third party identifies someone who is not supposed to be there trying to energetically center. But here's the thing about it, and this is the truth of the matter. Typically, third parties don't appear out of thin air. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do, right? Sometimes they do. Sometimes a third party appears out of thin air. But sometimes there is something else going on that one needs to explore or understand to give context as to why, right? Why they saw you as the third party, right? Because rest assured, if you were going through an experience in the dream by which you said, I was going through an experience in the dream by which another person was a third party, was trying to interfere in partnership, rest assured, from their perspective, right? From their perspective, they weren't the third party. From their perspective, potentially you were the third party, which brings the question of you articulating and identifying, why would they think that? Was there some reason? Was that something? And this is where that question mark comes from. And this is what the guides are effectively potentially trying to show you in the dream space, right? The observation and rumination as to whether, right, whether that energy was in a state of pure delusion, right? So whether the energy was in a state of pure delusion by which there was absolutely no cause, absolutely no reason, just out of the blue, someone appears and sees someone and goes, I want them, and I want to center myself into the relationship, right? which happens, but it doesn't happen a lot. Doesn't happen a lot. Versus whether that person had cause to give them the consideration of thinking that you were effectively interfering in their relationship. So this is what we effectively see is happening in the dream space. And what's interesting about it is I would not be surprised, right, when you talk about the fact, right, when you talked about the fact that you brought in someone to break an illusion. What broke? What broke in the context, right? And this is why we have to be very conscientious. This is why we have to be very conscientious in recognizing and identifying the fact that we never necessarily have a full understanding of the impact in relationality to what we energetically affect. Because, right, if there was a situation, right, if there was a situation by which you are having an energetic conflict with someone, right, and you go to someone and say, clear it, show me clarity, what was the clarity that was brought forth to you? Sometimes the clarity is not the clarity that we energetically expected. And so that is effectively what we identify that the dream is trying to show. And we can see this because you articulated the fact that that person is now your ex, right? We articulated in the space by which you identified, right? And this is what we mean in terms of like being able to recognize what we can't necessarily understand when we work to energetically clarify something, right? The space by which you identify in the dream space, third-party energy, right? Third-party energy or someone that's trying to interfere, clear it, and now the relationship is broken, right? Because understanding and recognizing that often, and this is why I don't like the misconception of a third party, the understanding that third party energy never sees themselves as third party. They always see the other person as third party, right? What was effectively occurring that gave them, was it out of the blue? And this is the question, because a good guide never tells us what to think. They give us what we need to get there. Was this a situation by which this person just decided out of the blue that they were being in a delusional state and wanting to energetically interfere? Or was there reason? Was there a reason that they had to believe that you were the third party energy? Bottom of the deck on this reading, star card in its reversal, unrequited, right? Was this a situation? And this is what we often talk about. And this is often why we talk about the space by which we're energetically clear in terms of the fact that our new relationships, we do not build into new relationship to get over past relationship, right? It's not the space. It's not that. This is why we talk about the fact that we don't throw ourselves into new partnership to get over things, because the modality by which another person works through the context, right, of building into priority is the space by which when we build into healthy relationship, we say to each other, the past is the past because I don't desire to go back there, right? Like that is what we build in. And it doesn't mean that we don't have feelings about the past, right? It's not the fact that we don't carry emotion, but the healthy relationship is often the space by which we say, I've got a lot of feelings, but I never want to go back there, right? We have feelings for the past, but we don't long for the past. So the modality by which, right, asking for clarity, right, and the misunderstanding, like the misconception, right? Did the past, especially if this was someone connected to their past, was this past energy arriving out of the blue? Or did this energy do something? Or was there something happening that would give this energy cause to feel that you were the energetic interference point, not them. And unfortunately, again, this is a hard part with the dream space. Dream space is often open up questions for us to explore so that we can understand the past more. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. The list is open. If you would like to get on the list right now, you will be the third person read for. It is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. I'm going to take a moment to read over the comments that came through as I was reading. Also, friends, we're at 43.3K likes. When we get to 50K, I'll be gifting a reading back to the collective. So make sure you're tapping that screen, and we'll get to 50K in no time. Oh, I forgot to do the dream gong. You're right. Oh my gosh, you're right. Hold on. I'll do it now. 1 minute. 1 minute. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Nicole. I appreciate you. Grand Rising, Ella. Oh my gosh, rainbow. Yeah, we got double hind today. Yep. The dream is outside. I didn't hear the dream gong. Yep. Hi there, Sasa. She was in a whole different dimension. Wow. Oh, I see it. Oh my goodness, this is fascinating. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't see the second part of the dream. Hold on a moment. Wait, we've got more dream here. 1 second. Thank you so much for the follow. Okay, so this was the first part of the dream. Yes, okay, perfect. Yes. No, this is interesting. No, but this is wild because yeah. No, this is interesting. That was the first part. Oh, that's wild. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah, I'm happy to continue the dream, but but what's interesting about it, like talk about the interference. Oh, that's so wild. Okay, hold on a minute. This is wild. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm just seeing the second part of the dream. Okay. All right, we'll continue. I owe you the dream reading. We're gonna continue the dream reading. So hold on. So we're gonna continue on this right now. So now we're starting the dream. Okay, hold on. We're gonna draw more cards on it. Okay, so here's the outside part of the, oh, this is so wild. Okay, so here's the outside part of the dream. Okay, perfect. Ooh. Okay, in my dream, a man and woman guided me through a labyrinth towards a building. From the outside, the building looked pretty ordinary. When I entered the building, the man and woman guiding me were gone. Suddenly, I found myself inside what felt like a palace, full of luxury, excess, and gold details everywhere. There was partying, but also pain. Punishments were being given out. It felt like a place where human desires were indulged to the extreme, along with suffering in its raw, primitive intensity. The air even smelled sweet, mixed with the scent of, I have no idea I have no idea about that smell. There were incredibly beautiful dishes laid out on tables, along with exotic fruits. Everything felt abundant and over the top. On the raised platform sat a man and woman side by side, watching the crowd, and they almost looked royal. The man had blonde hair, and the woman next to him was stunning with long red ruby hair. Both of them noticed me, which felt strange, considering everything else was completely absorbed in their own indulgence, and they looked at me with a kind of bored, unimpressed expression. At that point, I had seen enough and felt like I was somewhere I actually was not supposed to be for a long period and made myself wake up. What still stays with me is this question: who were they, especially the woman, and what kind of place was this? I understand that my question is maybe too specific and happy with my explanation. No, this is wonderful, and this is exactly why we had to do the first part of the reading. Remember what I said. Remember what I said about the first part of the reading, because that introduction gives us clarity to what we're seeing occurring here. 2 more, please. Yes. All right. Yep. Okay, so look. So remember what I said. Remember how I articulated. Remember how I articulated that the space by which I am not necessarily someone who likes to articulate or speak upon energy as the third party, because typically third party energy does not see themselves as third party, right? The modality of another person, it's typically a centering issue by which there is a confusion as it relates to who the priority is. So we started this with the observation, right? The guided observation that articulates, it says, let's be conscientious that often in the space by which we identify a third party, that yes, there are sometimes those delusional moments by which another person is going through, like having completely no reason to believe so, but just gets it in their headspace that something's going on that's not. But more times than not, another person has reason to believe that another person is the third party, because there is a confusion point as it relates to prioritization. So what do we see that this dream is? This is the dream connected to the shadow work that is still connected to the trauma that you experienced in relationality to that experience, which is the modality by which you potentially felt like you were in partnership with another, right? The space by which you and another person were prioritizing one another, right? And the modality by which you felt you were going into the labyrinth. And what happened when you went into the labyrinth? The two energies disappeared, which is the culmination to the anxiety of what you feared, that they were not actually the third party, that you were, that there was actually potentially there was something going on between them and another person trying to convince you that nothing was happening, but that they weren't being necessarily honest as it relates to what was happening, that would create the space by which they were trying to interfere in your own relationship, which is why we see the modality of you walking through a virtual hellscape, right? What did you see when you went into the labyrinth? You walked into a hellscape. There was partying, but there was also pain, a lack of consideration in terms of how other people might feel with two individuals that are playing a game with themselves, right? The modality by which they're going through some kind of sick game and everybody else is experiencing the consequences of that is often the modality by which another person isn't being honest in relationality to what it is that they're truly energetically invested in, which is why you describe this abattoir. You basically described an abattoir energy by which you even articulated the fact that you felt that there was burning flesh, because it's working through the space by which another person protests something that they actually desire, right? The modality by which another person isn't being honest with you in terms of what is actually happening. And this culminates to the fact that you said that even as you were going through all this hideousness, there were beautiful things on the table and exotic fruits. So often the modality by which we go through the space by which we feel everything is perfect until it's not, right? Getting to the root of an energetic problem is often, and again, when we've experienced betrayal on this level, it can feel absolutely devastating, because it's the modality by which we feel that we are at a celebration, the relationship that's this point of celebration, but truly another person is using the relationship to try to get back at someone, right? They're using the relationship to try to hurt another person, right? They're not truly invested in the relationship, but they're doing so just as a display of torture. And it's unfortunate, but there are situations by which unhealthy people do these things. And that is why we saw the fact that you recognized at the end of the dream, you looked up, and what did you see? You saw two individuals that were in partnership with each other, right? You saw two forces that felt like they were observing the tableau, that all of it was just for show. The sense of the false relationship by which we feel that we lose energetic connection because it doesn't feel like another person is truly invested in it, but rather they're going through the pantomime of a relationship for the pleasure of someone they're hoping to get back with, right? The relationship that feels like it is a pantomime gesture. And this is the force that you saw between the two energies that were on the dais, the anxiety or the fear that happened as it relates to that experience by which another person seemed really invested in trying to get in to a relationship. The space by which another person said, oh, they're trying to break it, but another person saying, why would they have reason to do that? And another person being like, I have no idea, but working through the fear that they had a very good reason, right? They had a very good reason to potentially see you as the third party instead of coming towards them from a point of delusion. And what's hard is often the space by which we navigate another person's betrayal is the modality by which another person tries to cry, like they try to cry they try to cry ignorance, right? They try to energetically deny it. They try to say like, oh, I have no idea why they would have gotten that into their head, failing to recognize the fact that they're still in some form of energetic connection with them. So that modality of working through the trauma that experience may have upended, right? The fact that the going through that potentially upended the relationship potentially has to do with the fact that you did not necessarily believe the fact of another person trying to articulate the fact that they said that they had no reason for them to effectively be doing so, right? The modality of understanding, right? And again, often if this was a space by which you didn't necessarily feel like you could trust the person, I would be very conscientious as to whether this felt like it was something that ultimately ended up breaking the relationship. Bottom of the deck on this reading, the Star card, right? When we build into true connection, right? The past is the past, and we desire to stay that way. And that doesn't mean, right? That doesn't mean that we don't have feelings about it, right? It doesn't mean that we don't still carry some emotions from the past. But the space by which we build into healthy partnership is the space by which we say we have no interest in going back to a volatile past. It's the space by which we articulate that the relationship we are in is where we aspire and desire to be. So the modality by which, and again, the thing about shadow work is it's not necessarily articulating potentially the fact that this happened, right? The hard part about this is shadow work often shows us our fears, and this is clearly a shadow work dream. So it's really the question, like the question as to whether that was what occurred is not something that I myself can answer in the context of this reading. But the fact that you carry trauma into the space by which you feel like you might never feel like you truly know, right? The fact that there's a question mark upon something, that is why it's trauma. If it was clear, it wouldn't be trauma. Trauma is confusing, right? Trauma is complicated. Unfortunately, usually a situation so traumatizing that you certainly can't go back to the source of the trauma to get clarity, especially if there wasn't clarity there in the first place. So often the shape of our trauma is the space by which we feel like we can carry it because it's by its very nature. We'll never truly know. But this is effectively the fear that you carry having gone through that traumatizing experience. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now, and the list is open. If you would like to get on the list, you will be the third person read for. I'm probably only taking maybe one more person on the list today before I will close the list. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. All right. And thank you, Just Dawn, for the follow. And thank you as well. That's so wild. Yeah, it was definitely not out of thin air. You see, there it is, right? It was definitely not out of thin air for the third party. It was an X. And thank you, Hey, for those heart me's. And I only asked because they became, yep, after 6 years. So again, the space by which you felt the energetic interference, but having the energetic fear in relationality to what was happening. Yep, and thank you, Brenda, for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. The funny thing is that I wanted to know about the dream and was not sure if we could read it. Oh, that's wild. And you not reading the dream is my confirmation to let it go. Absolutely. Yep, you don't always know the reading changes to dream in your, you don't always know the reading changes dream in your fence. Yep. Bring the gong back. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so wild, isn't it? Yeah, it is wild. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I didn't even need to see the dream. The dream, I was reading for the dream before I read the dream. The fear was that you were the third party. Exactly, the unwanted visitor. Absolutely, and thank you for sharing the live, dear. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. Thank you as well for receiving this message, Ed. Yeah, this is amazing. You've helped me unravel another piece understanding the events. You're so welcome, dear, and I hope that message helped. Oh, sending you support, my shell. I'm still freaked out about that on my wrist. Yeah, that was wild. Thank you. Yeah, for my dream. No, I understand that reading is amazing. Thank you, Nicole. I do my best. One moment. Lucky for me, it's an old dream. Yeah, but again, and I think that, and thank you, Dunladi, for the follow. If I'm ever saying your name incorrectly, please feel free to correct me. But I want to say it's a shadow work dream, right? So it's not necessarily articulating that that's what was happening, but it's helping you recognize the fear that it created in you, having gone through it. All right, we're going to continue right now. The next person on the list for today is Nicole. Nicole, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And as I mentioned, friends, if anybody wants to get on the list right now, you will be the third person read for. I'll probably only be taking one more person on the list today before I close the list. So if you'd like to get on the list, please make sure that you're doing so sooner rather than later. Italia, thank you for the follow. No, don't apologize at all, but that's the thing about it. Like, I didn't see the rest of it, but I didn't think, honestly, I think that was the way it needed to be read. Given the circumstances surrounding it, like I feel like that's the way that it had to kind of come through. And Masa, thank you. You're so welcome, dear. All right, and the next person we're reading for today is Nicole. Before we continue, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the swan. Thank you guys for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. And I'm going to pin up Nicole here. Guys, make sure to give Nicole some love. Anything for me in my gifts. And if it'll be able to get power back and harness to help others. I got you, dear. 4 cards, please. And 2 more. noisy. I mean, I feel like you already are. Like, what do you... you know, I need to stress this. um, I like to point this out. Like, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. Like, there's some information, like guides often have a tendency of giving us information after the fact, is the best way I like to describe it, which is often the modality by which we realize something and we're like, you know what, that would have been really helpful. Like, that would have been really helpful, I don't know, like a month ago. That would have been really helpful information. Like, that would have been really helpful information. Like, I don't know, like a month ago, I'm being like, well, yeah, but I wouldn't give it to you then. You were going through it. Why would I wouldn't give it, I wouldn't give it to you then. You didn't, now you need it, is what I like, is what I keep, like, is often what happens, right? Because it's the observation of understanding that information, like the information we receive, is often helping us understand the full context of why something was energetically important, right? Like, it's often the context by which the guide articulates and says, like, I'm not going to tell you why it's important as you're working through it. I'm going to allow you the space by which you have the amplification of being able to trust yourself and trust your choices. So I want you to understand, if you're going through if you're going through a situation by which you're receiving context, like, congratulations. I know it doesn't feel, like congratulations, right? I know it doesn't feel I know it doesn't feel like congratulations. I know it doesn't feel like something that feels like positive, but the understanding, right? The understanding of you potentially having, right? The space by which you articulate to me that you had a profound dream, right? You had a profound dream of interconnectedness, right? To help you understand. And what do we understand with the symbol of the tree, right? I need you to understand the relevance, right? Somebody, like, what was the tree symbolizing? The tree was symbolizing, saying, you have to understand how significant that choice is, given the history, right? I want you to see how significant the choice is, given the history, right? Often the modality of another person articulating the energetic significance of something is often given to us or shown to us after something has energetically occurred, because the modality by which we ourselves are able to articulate or able to energetically amplify the space by which we identify that work, and not only the space by which we identify the work, but being able to effectively work through catharsis, right? I feel like your guides are giving you the gift of catharsis right now, right? They're giving you the gift of catharsis by being able to amplify, right? Why that choice was the wise one, right? And typically, and this is the hard thing about wise choices. They rarely feel easy, right? They rarely feel easy. If it wasn't a hard choice, it probably wouldn't be the right one. But the modality by which you effectively navigate that, right? And I keep on getting back to what we saw, like you being able to kind of work through healing, like truly healing something with another person karmically. I just keep on hearing also, like, and I think it's wild, because I'm pretty sure that this is the same card we pulled yesterday on your reading, right? I'll stay as long as I am helping, and not a minute later, right? The modality by which you navigated a situation by which you had to work through and say, is my presence harming or healing? And what's hard about that is when we say, is my presence harming or healing? If we recognize that someone feels like they're going in the wrong direction and our presence feels like it's energetically condoning something, right? It often requires us to move away from things that we don't aspire and desire to, right? Something that tears us apart in the process, right? Something that tears us apart in the process, but that we know is the best thing that we could do, right? That is the nature of love, right? Often the nature of love tears us apart because it articulates upon how much we energetically care about one another, right? And there's something really important to say to someone when we say, I can't bear to see you like this. You know, I can't bear to see you like this. I can't bear to see you in that state. And that's why I keep on getting. It's interesting because you're saying, when am I going to be connecting to my gifts? And you literally gave me the context by which you are literally doing. Like, I would like to refer you back to yesterday's reading. I would like to refer you back to yesterday's reading, by which you're energetically channeling symbols. You're energetically channeling symbols, and you're seeing, like you're seeing you're seeing like the nature of a spiritual wound embodied physically. Embodied physically. In a way, and I want you to articulate that. And I feel like a lot of that, and I want to point this out, right? I feel like the guides are effectively articulating or bringing those forth to you to show you the fact that you're not alone right now, you know? And I like to point this out. There's something really important that we identify in sitting within the presence of a guide, right? The modality by which we feel something and someone says, you are not alone. We know how hard this is. We are with you every step of the way. We are not going to abandon you in this moment, right? I feel like that is a lot of the space by which you're already having those indications in the dream space, and it feels deeply connected to a past version of self, right? One thing we don't talk about enough, and you might have to consider this, sometimes our past selves are our guides. Wrap your head around that one. I've read for it. I've read for it. Sometimes those past selves are also our guides. And so the modality by which the indications that we see here, right, the indications that we effectively see is the fact that one of your past selves are potentially one of your guides. You're not and that energy is saying, like they're like it's giving you like, like it's giving you like that, like that is the cosmic fist bump, right? The cosmic fist bump of someone saying, like, I know it wasn't easy, but thank you for both of us, right? I know it wasn't easy, but thank you for both of us, right? Because they're saying, like, they're articulating and they're identifying that what you're doing, right? It's something that may be causing you pain now, but it's something that's reaffirming the work of something from the past, right? It's working into that. And so I feel like this is you. I feel like, again, the way you can usually tell that that's energetically occurring is if you start getting more of that memory recollection, you know? I like to describe it as someone showing you the cosmic file, being like, yeah, it's a big deal. Like, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, and it's not easy, right? Healing comes in many different forms. And there's nothing more painful, right? There's nothing more painful than when another person's saying, why are you doing this? And you say to them with all the honesty in your heart, because I love you, right? The modality by which we often have to do things that feel like they tear us apart, but that we also know are the best things to do is often the experience by which, right? I don't know what was happening in relationality to you and another person, but when our presence feels like it's condoning someone moving towards what we know is not best for them, sometimes the hardest thing for us to do is walk away. But you can always tell the healthy walk away, because it's not the walking away that says to someone, I'm trying to hurt you. It's the walking away that says, I hope you'll follow me. I hope you'll understand how important this is. I hope you understand that I need to see you do better because I care about you. And so I feel like that's a lot of that energy. Again, right? The ability of holding care for someone, but also recognizing the distance you have to give to someone. Some energy, and this is a sad truth, some energy is not safe to love until they're ready to build into the space of loving themselves. And so again, I feel like a lot of the work we see is you effectively working towards that. And I feel like that's your spirit guides telling you that they have your back if you're working in a space of love and deep intention. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. The list is open. I'll take like one more person on the list today before I have to close the list. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe one more. I'll take one more person, and then the list will be closed. No, actually, I'm closing the list. Okay, 3 cards for a donation. But if you want to get on the list, I will be creating a hold list for the next time on live. So if you want to get on the list, I will be honoring reads tomorrow, but only the reads that are already on the list prior to tomorrow starting. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Just bear with me. And Beads, thank you for the follow. Thank you, Gina, for the follow as well. Oh yeah, our guides constantly give us old tea. Are you kidding me? This tea is ancient. Would you like some ancient tea? That's your favorite tea. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Yes. Thank you as well, Mamo. Yes. I don't feel confident that I'm blocking a lot. But here, I want you to understand, like, your ability, don't worry, like working, you are literally in the space of finding your confidence again, right? If you feel like the block is from your confidence, just be patient with yourself, right? Yes. Yeah, it does not, but I need it, and I'm grateful for their guidance, right? And I feel like this is them reaffirming that you're moving in the right direction, as difficult as it is. And Gina, thanks again for the follow. Yes. No, you have nothing to apologize for, Nicole. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's again, this is often what I need to point out. This is often what I do with my mentorships. Like a lot of the work I do with mentorships is helping others like make sense of what they're receiving that feels like it is completely confusing. And like often those who work with me, I'm always like, they're like tell me no, like tell me everything, right? Like tell me everything. They tell me everything. Because something I usually it's the thing that isn't a big deal. I'm like, no, actually that was the most important thing, right? It's like I need to know, tell me everything. I just give me what you've been getting and let me figure out the rest. Like let me help you put it together. Yep, absolutely. Thank you as well for receiving those messages, Bridget and Ed. Yeah, this is news for me. Past self is guides. It's not always right. I've had a couple individuals I've read for, where the past self, like the past self steps up and goes, yeah, I'm guiding them, right? It's usually and often it's connected to karma. Yep. Yeah, cosmic fist bump resonated with me as well. Well, you should know that very well, Ivana. We've talked about that. Yeah, the past life regression. Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, you can post again. If you message me, Nicole, we've got a whole section where you can put recommendations as it relates to materials for others to peruse. Yeah, you don't want to know it's heavy. Oh, I'm sending you so much support, dear. Absolutely. And that's and that's why, right? Like the fact that you saw that mark was the fact of saying like it was leading in that direction, right? Like you saw the signs, right? Like and that's the hard part about it, right? like often the modality by which you say, like it could have been better. But I keep on I keep on seeing a situation being like it could have been worse, and being like it would have worsened, right? Yeah. You're so welcome, dear, and sending you support on that journey. And yeah, thank you for the follow. Everybody's taking. Hi there, Kay. The list is closed today, but if you want to get on the list for the next time I'm on live, you'll be the first person read for. You're so welcome, Mamo. All right. Oh, we got to 50K. Hooray. And thank you, Stargazing, for the follow. Stargazing, I like your name. How do past selves appear differently than ancestors? Oh, yeah. Okay. So for me, I mean, again, it's a case-by-case basis. I like to point out the thing is ancestors are the best way I can describe it is ancestors are noisy. And they usually have tea, but you have to understand it's very easy because ancestrals are connected familial, right? Your past life is not potentially going to be familial, right? And usually I can discern if it's an ancestor coming through, because they usually show up with family tea, right? They'll start talking about everybody, right? But usually if it's a past life connection, they're like, we've been working on this a long time, right? This is there you need some backstory, right? Like there's a saga here, right? It's much more identified in the pathwork of the person rather than what's been going on with the system, if that makes sense. I hope that helps. That's just my interpretation of it. All right, the next person we're reading for today is Taryn. Taryn, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a Oh, but actually, Taryn, please pause. Before you comment, Taryn, we are going to do the 50K giveaway. So like yeah, I mean, like it's not, I mean, like it's the observation, often the space by which like being able to like, I like to describe it. It's like context clues to a certain extent is the best way to describe it. Like usually with the context clues, I can discern pretty quickly if it's ancestral or if it's past life. Hi there, Prickly, and thank you for the follow. 500, we've spoken about this. Please, you're welcome to stay, but I'm asking you not to put the non sequitur letters in. Thank you. All right, let's continue right now. I got you, Taryn. Oh, well, I'll do my best, but you're already noticing that it's a bit of an issue there, huh? I'll do my best, but we will get into it. Yep, hold on a minute. Oh, it's gonna be like a thing, huh? Okay. All right. But before we continue, let's do it. We're gonna do a giveaway. So I'm gonna gift a reading back to the collective. Okay, fair. I'm thinking of a number right now. I'm thinking of a number right now between um, 1 and 48. First person I see is the first person I'll read for. The first person that gets a reading. First person I see. Sometimes I see things in a different order than you guys post them. Ella, congratulations, you got it, dear. We'll do that again after when we get to 100K. All right. And I'm going to pin, and before we continue right now, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10. When we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the otter. All right, we'll do it again after the next reading. All right. And let me just pin it up. And I'm going to pin up Taryn here. Guys, make sure to give Taryn some love. 3 cards, please. 2 more. Thank you. And 1 more. Okay, let's get to it. So how do I describe this? Okay. So what we're effectively seeing here, and I think that you probably understand this. There's a million different ways of looking at stuff. Um, but the important thing is, and we got to talk about this because I feel like there's some kind of prickliness. Okay, the word that's coming through, the word that's coming through is prickly because there seems to be like some sort of prickliness in relation out. I keep on hearing a prickly depiction is what I keep on hearing. A prickly depiction, which is the and, oh it's a there's where the prickliness is coming from. But it's the space by which it's like it's I see the fact that I don't know how to describe this best, but it feels like one of your guides is somewhat incensed. Like there's a little bit of this incensedness in relationality to the way another person articulates a story. Is the best way I can describe it. The best way I can describe it. Like someone who is a bit incensed in relationality to another person's ability to effectively articulate on a story. And I literally see someone being like, not exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the conversation, I wouldn't be surprised if the conversation between you and your counterpart is often based upon or built upon the space by which you're sometimes correcting them, right? The space by which you're sometimes correcting them and being like, that's not exactly what happened, or that's not exactly how I remember. That's not exactly how I remember something energetically occurring, is what I keep on seeing. Because I keep on getting, and I feel like this is something that is your strong suit, is what I keep on seeing. You have a very, you have a very good, you have a very beautiful ability to have a hard gaze on things, right? And the thing about a hard gaze, right? Let's talk about a hard gaze. A hard gaze is not wanting something sugar coated, right? It's the most wonderful. I often see it with those with Capricorn placements, right? It's that you're either someone's godsend or their worst nightmare, depending on how well depending on how well they themselves like to take a sure shot into what they need to know in order to get there, right? Like you're a lot like you are the reality check. And I keep on seeing, and some energy hates it, but the energy that loves you for it because it's giving me a lot of give it to me straight, doc, right? It's a lot of that energy. Like the type of energy is the energy that's trying to get somewhere as fast, like the energy that's trying to get somewhere as fast as possible appreciates. There's nothing that is more appreciated than someone that is not going to, I keep hearing, someone that is not going to waste time worrying about another's feelings in order to help them fix those feelings. Now that can be a little difficult, right? It does require, right? It does require empathy because I see the fact that you've been through some stuff, right? Not everybody is as strong as you, right? And so in that way, and this is why I feel like you and your counterpart get along so well. But also, right? I mean, and we're going to talk about this here in relationality to the fact that you identified the fact that, like, I keep on hearing it's like crowded house energy over there. You got like dueling banjos in relationality to the guides, right? Because the modality by which I see you very much like you are all warrior energy, right? Like you are ready to go, right? You are like do not mistake the kindness for weakness, because I will, like, look at this is the I will, like, oh, where did all these swords get here? I don't know where all these. Oops, I tripped over another sword. Where did these claws come from? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something? Right? Like it's giving me, like, it's like not necessarily needing to do something, but just giving someone enough to be like, do you really want to repeat that? Would you like to say that? I heard you said something. I couldn't hear it from over there. Could you say that? Could you say that one more time? Could you say that one more time? Right? So the thing I keep on seeing, though, and this is the thing I think that and I think that this is where their guides come in. I'm not gonna start, like, I'm gonna maintain the energetic boundaries, but I see somebody saying there are things to be achieved with softness too, right? There are things to be achieved with softness too, which is, and I feel like this is where some of that healing comes through, right? Because and I can see this, like the mode, like the space by which, right, the space by which another person brings out your vulnerability, right, the space by which I see, right, like I see the space by which, like, another person tries to help you with your vulnerability. um I feel like it's very, and this is what I mean in relationality to, and I like to point this out, and the best way I'll describe this is good counterparts keep each other, right? Good counterpart energy is not just the space by which we cheer each other on, right? It's the space by which we articulate when we help another person by saying, right, like, I'm pulling you this way, not in the space by which you're going the wrong way, but taking something into energetic consideration. And I think it's really interesting because I got this, like, clamoring between you and their guides, right? And some of it has to do with a little bit of, like, I keep wondering, like, your guide feeling a little bit energetically incensed in relationality to their, like, to their perception in somebody else's guide work is what I keep on seeing. But I like to point this out. The way we find harmony is by finding a happy medium, right? Which is the space by which, even when, like, even when we can't do something, right, exactly the way that we aspire to, or having those moments by which we feel energetically frustrated at another, right? There's frustration and there's frustration, right? There's frustration by which, and I want to point out, there's the frustration, and I don't know why this is coming through. There's frustration we feel that feels like it holds us down, and there's frustration that makes us feel the desire to climb higher, right? And so I feel like those two words are really important as it relates to the work that I see that you're doing right now. Climb higher, especially if someone's trying to match energy with you. Especially if someone's trying, all you do when you match energy with someone that's coming towards you in an appropriate way is you show them that you have no integrity, right? Don't let another person lacking integrity knock you out of integrity. When somebody effectively shows you who you are, who they are, and the fact that they do that, take note of it. But don't feel like you have to. Don't feel like you have to lower yourself to reach another person's bar, because all you do when you do that is you show someone that they know exactly what they need to do to get your attention, right? And if attention is all they're seeking in doing that, you just gave them exactly what they're looking for. Bottom of the deck, Knight of Wands, right? And that's what I keep on. And like and I feel like that's really important too. And I feel like a lot of the work I see is you trying to be protective of another person's. I don't want to say the word naivete, but I almost feel like something about your counterpart is someone who has, like, I almost see somebody who has a lot more of a demeanor by which, like they're and I want to describe this. Like, I don't know why I'm kind of getting this like end them with kindness kind of energy. But the state by which I see somebody, right? The space by which I see somebody who sometimes moves through things, and you feeling like you effectively feeling like you're trying to protect them, right? I like to point out we protect each other by showing each other things, right? It doesn't mean we have to step up for each other. Protection is by articulating, by helping another person see a blind spot. So as long as they're doing that for you, make sure that you're doing that for them, not getting frustrated that you have them. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is closed today, but if you get on the list, you'll have first priority the next time I'm online to read. I am going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. I know, we always go through this. I always think it's funny though, because I notice it too. When we pull the otter, everybody says water dragon, like the otter thinks that they're the water dragon. It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Good to see you today, Nikki. And love will save. Thank you for resharing and thank you for reposting. I appreciate you. Let's continue right now. Yep, that was going there. Yeah. No, an otter is practically a cat. No dragon. That's me. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. T, this was a personal reading. Yes. Yes, not sugar coated. Cap here. That's very true. Yeah, caps are very much like that. That's nice, Dark Knight. Yeah, do not mistake the kindness for weakness. Yeah, can anyone help me on dreams? Oh yeah, I can. I mean, we do dream interpretations here, Prickly. So if you ever want to get on the list for a dream, then all you have to do is send the information on the dream in the notes when you send the donation. If you become a subscriber, you can also post it in our subscriber only disco channel in the appropriate channels, and we do dream interpretations here as well. I'm not sure what you're speaking about, Dark Knight. You have to be a little bit clearer. I'm not a big fan. We have a pretty strong rule here about not employing the ubiquitous they, right? Like making sure that we're not talking about the ubiquitous they. Yeah, I just want, absolutely. You want facts and you feel like you're getting run around from some of your guides? Yeah, guides are good at that, right? I mean, I need to point this out. You have to understand though, T, a good guide is never going to tell you what to do, right? A good guide is never going to tell you what to do. A good guide is going to give you what you need to get there, right? So it's not the guides, it's not the fact that the guides are giving us runaround, but the guides do not feel inclined to give us direction. That's not what they're there for. Thank you for the compliment, Ivana. I do my best with them. I appreciate you. Yep. And thank you for sharing the live, Ella. Again, the same thing. This ubiquitous they, I want you just to really stay wary of. Who is this ubiquitous they, right? Just be very conscientious of that. You're so welcome, T. And Kiwi, thank you for the follow. I also dream inside. Oh, you had a dream inside a dream. Oh, that's wild. Again, if you ever want to do a dream interpretation here, we also do dream interpretations. Absolutely. Thank you as well for receiving this message, and Ed. Dark Knight, so we're about to get started on one card readings for superfans. So if you'd like a card pulled, you just need to become a superfan. I'll be happy to draw a card for you. Also, if you are a superfan, please make sure that you're recharging your heart needs if you're joining us on the Clock app, if you'd like an Animal Spirit Guide card. And for those who are joining us on the place where we keep the videos, you are also entitled to a one card reading if you are a member. Yes. Stay away from the ubiquitous they. Oh, thank you for the compliment, Nikki. Good to see you today. Nikki, what do you mean they're obviously after us? Oh, yes. Yeah, they kind of give directions. My guides gave me 7 lessons. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, let's continue. And thank you, Hannah, for the heart maze. We're going to get started on one card readings for super fans and for paid members over on the place where you keep the videos. If you are a super fan, you can go ahead and put your question in the comments. If you would like a one card, your super fan status will make you eligible, so feel free to sign up. One card highest, please, for Ella. Just don't wait. Like, just go for it, is what I keep on seeing. You know, I feel like there's something about, I need to stress, and I feel like it has to do. Here's the thing. It's not the fact that you can't start things during eclipses. It's just making sure that it's something you start that has your heart set on it, right? Bottom of the deck. Yeah, especially with the death card. Like the thing I keep on seeing is it's not about doing, it's like you can be spontaneous in the best way possible, which means you can do something if it's something you've been meaning on, if it's something you've been meaning on activating on for a while. So just don't be worried about that, is what I keep on seeing. Animal spirit guide, yeah, especially with the swan, right? Like that is like, it's working into, it's okay to navigate things with spontaneous intention. So something you've been thinking about doing that you activate upon, rather than being in the space of saying, I can't do anything because of the eclipse. Ugh, are we ever ready, Lucas? Good to see you, dear. Guys, make sure to give Lucas some love. Readers supporting readers, hashtag. How are you doing today, dear? Bridget, one card, highest priority, please. Focus on the positive, right? Make sure that the decisions you're making right now are working towards the highest possible timeline, right? Animal spirit guide. Yeah, don't get too twisted up about the past. And I know that's hard, because a lot of stuff from the past can often rise up during these eclipse cycles, especially like the one we're experiencing now with Pluto and Saturn moving into Aries, right? Like, don't let the past distract you if you're working towards building towards like present harmony. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, the hair energy, right? It's okay to say somebody like, can we have this like I see you saying to someone like, I really want to talk about this, but I don't have the bandwidth for it. Right? There's something to be said about, it's not about having a conversation. It's making sure that you're in the right headspace to have one. Yep. Hannah, one card, please, general. Just focus one thing at a time right now. If something feels like it's overwhelming, just break it into smaller pieces. Bottom of the deck, yeah, especially as it relates to relationship. Relationship does not require us to be perfect. It requires us to be able to identify what it is that we're working on. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, especially with that adder energy, right? You're exactly, how would your situation change if you told yourself you're exactly where you need to be? Ava, I've got a card for you here. It's actually a card that's been waiting. Apparently I didn't see it before. One card on how to do energy healing work on myself. I've often had been told my energy is healing to others, but it doesn't feel the same for me. It's very hard to do energy healing work for the self. But the way you can do it is focus on your astral body, right? If you're having a hard time doing it to the self, visualize the astral body and let the observation of the astral body be where you put that force of intention towards. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Yeah, right. Because sometimes it's like the inability to tickle the self, right? the ability to kind of put that energy towards something and say that that is the self, right? You don't have to you don't have to bring it inwards, but you can visualize the astral self and put it there. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, the otter energy, right? It's like trying to tickle yourself. It can sometimes feel hard because it's hard to put the energy into the self. But if you focus on the astral body, then it can sometimes help you. First work towards visualizing it, and then you can start working upon applying energy towards it. One card, angelic, please, for Ivana. I keep on getting, you've got a guide that's trying to help you with the anxiety right now. They're saying, give me your anxiety, right? Like whenever you feel it, I almost feel like they're trying to get you to visualize handing it right to them. Like, let me transmute that for you, is what I keep on seeing. Bottom of the deck, that Lover's card doesn't want to leave the bottom of the deck right now, right? I feel like it's not, don't feel, you're not inconveniencing that guide by giving them things, is what I keep on seeing. Right? I keep on seeing this guy does not typically work with someone. They're very, I keep on specialized. They're like, you're not bothering them, right? You would not be in connection with that guide if they thought that it was a bother. I feel like it's them understanding that there's something about that that is very energetically important. Animal spirit guide, it's funny too, the otter was still popping up. Don't let somebody trying to get attention create anxiety in you. Right? There's no fear connected to something. It's just somebody trying to create I like to point out, when someone desires attention, fear is a fast pass to attention. Don't let that bother you. Recognize that that is the energy of someone trying to create anxiety in you. Highest priority for Per, please. Yeah, I feel like it has a lot to do with what we saw in the dream space, right? Healthy relationship, the priority of partnership is never a question, right? It's not, it doesn't even, I keep on hearing like, it feels like a message from divine counterpart, right? The space by which the divine counterpart, you're never going to have to feel like you have to question whether you're the priority in connection with that energy. Animal spirit guide, yeah, the ram energy, right? Like it says to me, like, and I keep on hearing the something like that person didn't do anything to affect the relationship beyond help one recognize the frailty of it. That wasn't, I keep on hearing, it wasn't something like, if the relationship was, if the like, and I think you recognize it, like if the relationship wasn't so fragile, right? It wouldn't have even energetically registered, right? Like it's working through, I keep on hearing, it's working through the fact that it already felt like somebody was very energetically fickle with you, is what I keep on seeing. Hi there, Michelle. How are you doing today? And thank you for those heart me's. We're as ready as we'll ever be. I feel like this retrograde, actually, I gotta be honest, with the energy we have right now, Lucas, I feel like it's gonna bring balance. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as we typically expect them to be. You know? The list is closed right now, Yaz, but if you want to get on for the next time on live, you'll be the first person and you'll also have priority. 111, tap to claim wild. And thank you for sharing the live, dear. You're welcome. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, dear. I mean, not for a while. No, Pluto isn't going to Aries. Who said that? Did I? I didn't say that, did I? Yep. I know it's heavy nostalgia energy. It's just gonna, like, that's the thing with this eclipse. I think it has more to do with nostalgia than anything. Highest priority, please, for my shell. Just continue to work on things, right? Just focus on what you need to do Now's a good time to write a got done list instead of a to-do list. Yeah, don't let yourself get overwhelmed, right? Everything can get done when it needs to get done. If something feels like it's too overwhelming, cut it into smaller pieces. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, especially with that bull, right? Don't take on more than you can reasonably do, right? A little bit of discomfort every day, but not contorting. I got you, Nicole. One for me. Energetic read on that individual, please. I keep on hearing something about a warning. I keep on seeing like this type of energy, you know. Yeah, especially with the Hierophant, somebody who's potentially going to be in a space by which another person is keeping, like monitoring them, right? Like it feels like it feels like it feels like something like not the greatest, but but needed in some way, like somebody who is on notice or monitored in some way. Yeah, especially with the hawk, like a lot of that energy in terms of another articulating or feeling the space of being like having to effectively I keep hearing warning, which is somebody getting some kind of warning by which another person is monitoring their progress on something. Yaz, one please, highest and best on serious convo with them today. Um, it feels like it has to do with what is and is not possible, you know? And I feel like I see somebody like identifying and recognizing your boundaries, you know? Or potentially someone like I almost feel like somebody mortified, like somebody like, I am so sorry, I wasn't aware of that, or somebody working to the space of like I keep wondering like when we show each other things that we didn't realize, like the ability of saying like oh my goodness, I can correct that, right? Having to have a conversation with another, not I keep wondering not about apology, but again action, right? Like not worrying so much about like not bringing it to another's attention to try to make them feel bad, but saying like what can we do, like this is what we can do going forward is what I see. You're so welcome, Hannah. You're so welcome, Ivana. No, you're not an inconvenience at all. You did a reading the other day and someone's guide just what do you mean they I mean I've seen it. I haven't seen it in the space of reading, but I've had others guides that are trying to work through other people for their benefit, which is that is often the articulation where I've seen someone quit, which is a space by which they don't necessarily quit, but they're like, I'm going to go work with them because like this this person, they're not listening. They're not listening. You know, you're welcome, dear. Absolutely. How you doing, Miranda? You're so welcome, Per. One card. Yep. Oh, thank you for the compliment, Lucas. Appreciate you. You're so welcome, Yaz. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, no, no. Yep. The person was very, yeah. But I like the one thing I've seen, I've done readings with with energy. We pick up guides along the way. And I've seen energy being like, I used to be this other person's guide, but they weren't listening. So here I am. Like, so, they, I was like, there's like any way to get through, right? They're like, they're better luck here than directly next to them, right? Yeah. And Jonah, thank you for the follow. How you doing today, Vanessa? Yeah. Oh man, that's wild, Lucas. All right, my friends. A final call for anyone who's a super fan who has not had a card pulled today who'd like to have a card. If you just became Chrissy, one card regarding connection, please. This card does not want to stay in the deck today. I feel like I see somebody that has a tendency of throwing themselves into their work. You know, bottom of the deck, hangman, right? Trying to find a space to like put something. like that feels productive. Like I see somebody focusing a lot on trying to channel frustration into work. Animal spirit guide, yeah, air dragon, you know, trying to turn a negative into a positive. Hi, gotcha, Miranda. Highest priority, please, for Miranda. You trust your judgment, you know? Why are you doubting yourself on something? Bottom of the deck. Yeah, I mean, I want to point out, like, before you walk away from things, make sure you're telling someone what would be needed to stay, right? And that's not to say like you can't. It's not to say that you can't. Like, it's not to say you can't communicate your feelings during the eclipse cycle, but make sure your emotions have directions attached to them, right? So not just talking about how you feel, but what another person can do to help heal it. You're welcome, dear. Vanessa, these are 1-card readings for superfans. So if you'd like to become a superfan, I'm happy to draw a card for you. All right. Oh, that's very funny. Well, I appreciate the wonderful part. All right, my friends, we've reached the conclusion of our reads today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages. The next few days, I'm going to be on at a limited capacity, so I'll probably be on for anyone who's pre-booked a personal reading. So if you want to make sure to book beforehand, I'll add you to the list. I got you, Nikki. 1-card highest priority for Nikki. Right? Make sure that you're having a conversation that feelings don't fix things. Fixing things fix things, right? So the ability of understanding an apology is 2 portions, right? The ability of articulating like how we feel and what we're going to doing like moving in a better direction, right? Yeah, especially with the 3 of Cups, bottom of the deck. Often the space by which, like, I keep wondering, having a plan for the next time something happens, especially if it feels like someone gets carried away with their emotions. I keep on hearing, like, Hind, it's okay to have a code word with each other if it feels like something's getting too heated. I don't know, I keep on hearing a code word when things are getting too heated, like the ability to identify or take some kind of break. Hind's been coming up like crazy today, Nikki. And thank you as well, Pegasaurus, for the follow. Oh, you just talked about that. Thank you for confirming. All right, we'll let that serve as confirmation. All right, my friends, as I mentioned, if you just became a subscriber today, welcome. I would encourage you to message me directly in the subscriber-only Disco channel. You can introduce yourself to the collective. You'll also find in the perk section a coupon code for our class tonight. Class is starting this evening at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. You still have time to sign up. If you need a link to the disco, message me a disco GIF, private message me. Even if you are not a subscriber, I have a unique coupon code for class tonight. Message me the word class. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. Huge thank you to my followers, old and new. Thank you for being here and sharing in these messages. Huge thank you to my subscribers. Your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. And the biggest thank you to my mods. Thank you, K. Megan, for all of your help today. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we'll do this again tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.